What's up guys, we are back with another story. What if Bella Swan woke up as a vampire with no memories? So let's get started. When I woke up, I was in a complete daze. What happened to me? I stood up and I was looking up at the night sky. There were hundreds of stars and I could see them so clearly. I inhaled and the action felt weird. The air didn't comfort me. I cupped my throat and it's so very dry, that it burned. I looked at my hands and they were pale. I let my hands graze down my body. It felt hard and smooth. Was that normal? I continued breathing, feeling the cool air swirl in my body. As my hands appraised my body, I saw a plastic band around my wrist. It was some form of identification. Isabella. Was that my name? It had to be. I couldn't remember. I looked down and saw I was wearing a hospital gown. I looked around. Where was I? I began walking across the field, into some trees. Hopefully, there was a town where someone could help me. As I walked, I tried to remember how I ended up here, wherever I was. My memory was very hazy and clouded. As I walked, I came across something. I looked around, sniffing at the wind. I felt the impulse to protect myself, but how could I? I was a girl lost in the forest, alone and I had no idea where I was. Are you lost? A voice came from behind me. I spun around and saw a lean woman coming towards me. She had straight, silvery blonde hair and her skin was as pale as mine was. She approached me slowly. Are you hurt? My eyes widened in fear. I shook my head. No. The woman came towards me. How did you get here? I bit my lip and that felt wrong. My teeth felt so sharp against my hard lip. I don't know. I just woke up in that field. I pointed it out. She looked over her shoulder, then back at me. What's your name? I made a face. I'm not sure. I held out my wrist. This says Isabella. She further examined the band. Someone just left your first name on it. I smiled sheepishly. All right. What is your name? She smiled at me. Irina. She looked down at my wrist. This band is definitely from a hospital, but it doesn't say where. She looked up at me. Do you know where you are? I shook my head. Irina looked at me. Quebec. My eyes widened. What am I doing here? I had a feeling I didn't belong here. I looked around myself, breathing erratically. Why am I here? What's happened to me? Irina tried to calm me. Isabella, I will help you. I bit my lip and quickly wrapped my arms around her. Thank you. Irina chuckled and wriggled in my arms. Don't worry about it. But, OWW. I looked up at her and pulled away my arms. I'm sorry. She smiled. You said you just woke up, right? I nodded. Yes. The burn in my throat increased. Do you have anything to drink? My throat feels so dry. Irina sighed. Honey, only one thing will help with that. You need to hunt. My eyes furrowed. Hunt? Why would I have to do that? Irina made a face. Isabella, I don't know how to tell you this, but, yes. I prompted. You're a vampire now. My eyes widened and I stepped back. A what? Vampires don't exist. Irina gritted her teeth. Yes, we do exist. I've been alive for more than 500 years. My mouth fell open. What? She shrugged. And you are a newborn vampire. You need to hunt. I looked away from her. So I have to drink human blood. She smiled. I don't. I drink the blood of animals. I looked up at her. Can I do that? I don't want to hurt people. She smiled. Of course. I'll teach you. Come on. She took my hand and guided me through the woods. Once we're done, you'll feel a lot better. Thank you, Irina. She smiled at me, and her eyes fell on my clothes. She grimaced. Then I'm taking you to get some clothes. I giggled. That'd be great. After hunting Irina, I did feel a lot better. She showed me to hunt and follow my instincts. I took down a giant moose and a bear. I preferred the bear. It had more fight in it. Irina took me to her small cottage in the woods and she lent me some clothes. Go to the bathroom and clean the mud off. You made quite a mess of yourself. I groaned. I'm sorry. She smiled at me. Don't be. You're young. We'll just work on your fine-tuning when you take down your prey. I giggled and went to clean myself up. Looking into the mirror, this was the first time I saw my face. I was beautiful. My hair was long, down to my waist. Dark and had curls at the end. My lips were full. Looking closer, I noticed the top lip didn't exactly match the bottom. My eyes were so red that they were crimson. Irina explained that the blood of animals would change my eyes to gold, and when I was thirsty, my eyes would become black. I cleaned the leaves, twigs and dirt out of my hair and off my skin. Irina explained to me the true legends of vampires. We don't sleep in coffins, burn in the sun or change into bats. Irina explained to me about our natural enemies, how we are truly killed and the laws set by the Volturi. No immortal children, no newborn armies are exposing our secrets to humans. She explained to me about her family and their history. Her mother, Sasha, I saw it pained Irina to talk about her, created her and her two sisters. Kate and Tanya, she told me her mother created an immortal child, Vasily. They were destroyed by the Volturi, but her and her sisters were spared because of their innocence. Being with Irina, I tried to not ask about her mother. What we're doing away from your family? She made a face. A friend of mine went missing and I was searching for him. I found out he was destroyed by some wolves. I gasped, "Oh, Irina, I'm sorry." She patted my knee. "Yay. I wanted to hunt the wolves myself, but I knew I would need some help." That made me nervous. I didn't want to go up against the beasts that were our natural enemy. "Irina, I know I just met you, but I don't want you to hurt yourself to avenge your friend." She looked at me. "Isabella, I really cared about him." "I understand that, but would he want you to hurt yourself for him?" She nodded in agreement. "Besides, if he couldn't escape those monsters, he wouldn't want you to do it. Besides, you're my first friend. I don't want to lose you." She smiled brightly. "You're right. You're very young and you will need guidance. For you, Isabella, I'll stay." Staying with Irina, I learned much about my own abilities as a newborn vampire. Our days were spent reading, running, shopping, and we spent our nights talking. She told me about her sisters and brother in Alaska. Her family had lived in Alaska for more than a century. Tanya, Kate and my conquests were getting human men. They were so enchanted by our looks, they gave into anything we wanted, and I do mean anything, she smirked. I giggled. "You've been with human men?" She nodded. "Yay, they're fun. Have you?" She trailed off and I shrugged. "I don't know." I bit my lip. "I don't think so." I truly did not remember anything from my human life. "Well, I think we should start researching on who you were," Irina suggested. We began looking up hospitals in the area, but none of them had any missing patients. "Isabella, what else do you remember?" Closing my eye, I tried to recall. My memories are hazy, but I remember lying in a hospital bed. I was alone, when a woman with red hair came into the room. She said she was going to help me. Then, I fell asleep, and my eyes whirled back and forth. Then I woke up here. Irina deliberated. "Well, we could do more research on missing hospital patients." We exhausted as much resources as we could to find out about my past. But nothing helped. Irina spent more than a year, with no success. With each failure, I became more wary that we would never find out who I was. Irina lived in a small cottage in the middle of the forest, so she did not have many electronics. "Oh," her face suddenly lit up. "I know. We could go see Arrow." I stared at her. "Of the Volturi? Why would we do that?" She held my hands and sat with me on the couch, because of his ability. With one touch, Arrow is able to see every memory, hear every thought and see every idea you have ever had. I couldn't fight the smile on my lips. "Really? Do you think he will be willing to help us?" Irina shrugged. It couldn't hurt to ask. Irina and I immediately began our plans to travel to Italy. She had to have false paperwork made for me, including a passport, driver's license, social security card and birth certificate. Within a month, Irina and I were flying out to Volterra. While flying, Irina explained to me about the Volturi. They upheld the law of our kind. She told me about her family's run-in with them centuries ago. Also, she warned me of the most important laws. We had to remain inconspicuous, keep the secret, and above all, do not create an immortal child. When we arrived at Volterra, we walked through the gates into a courtyard. It was very dark and few humans we out. "How can we help you?" a voice asked us. Irina turned and nodded. "Dmitri." Two cloaked men approached us. The shorter, thinner man greeted us, while a large man stood next to him. Both of them lowered their hoods. Dmitri smiled at Irina, then appraised me. "Who is this?" He gestured to me. Irina held my hand. This is Isabella. We've come to ask for Arrow's help. Irina explained how she found me and that I could not remember my own past. We were hoping that Arrow could tell us about her. The taller of the two smiled. I think Arrow will be amenable to that. Please follow us. Irina smiled. Thank you, Felix. We follow them into a large building and into an elevator. I was very nervous, but excited. Finally, I would know who I was. Irina and I spent months trying to figure out where I came from. We followed Dmitri and Felix followed. Irina never released my hand and we exchanged smiles. We followed Dmitri into an antechamber. In the room, two men stood by three thrones, both of them with long dark hair. Irina, my dear, one of them crooned. Irina released my hand and held out hers for the greeter. He took her hands and bowed his head. Remembering Irina's stories of her family's history with the Volturi, I knew she would be complaint with them. Is that why you came today? I do hope you will stay on a little longer. Irina smiled. Thank you for the invitation. Isabella and I will consider it. But, you know why we are here. Can you help her? Irina gestured to me and the greeter looked at me, smiling. Isabella. He held out his hand for me. I stepped forward. This is Arrow's talent. He can hear every thought and memory you have ever had with one touch. He will be able to tell you everything about your past. I tore my eyes from Irina to Arrow. I took Arrow's hand and he bowed his head. After a few long moments, Arrow's head snapped up and he looked at me. I do not see anything. My eyes widened. What? Arrow held my hand tighter, taking my other hand. Fascinating. I cannot see anything from this young one. That has never happened before. He released my hands, as I began to crumble. Irina held my shoulders. Not anything. No, he whispered. That is truly unusual. I breathed out a staggered breath. Heidi, please show these ladies to a room. Yes, master. A statuesque woman gestured to us. Please, follow me. Irina guided me behind Heidi into a large room, which held two twin-size beds. Thank you, Heidi. I stood in the middle of the room, breathing deeply. Isabella, I am so sorry. I tried to speak, but my breath hitched in my throat. Don't be. I sighed and tried to compose myself to no avail. I was disappointed, even more than Irina could comprehend. I promised you I will not give up until we find out everything. I nodded. I know. Thank you. You don't have to do this for me. Irina sat by the window. Isabella, I have to confess, I thought of the Volturi as a last resort. I honestly thought Arrow could help you. Like he said, that has never happened before. Maybe that's your talent. I looked up. Talent. Like the rest of the guard. She nodded, and like Kate and Eliezer. I deliberated that, should we discuss that with Arrow? Irina and I went to the main chamber to talk with Arrow. Arrow was intrigued by my ability and offered a place for in his guard. I declined, because I did not want to leave Irina alone. Though she said she would be fine with my decies. Ion to stay and that she would return to her sisters, I didn't want to leave Irina. Arrow offered that Irina and I stay at Volterra until we decide where we wanted to go. Isabella, do you want to hunt? Arrow ordered Dmitri and Felix to accompany us on our hunting trip. In the night, the four of us ran through the open fields until we found a heavily wooded area, where I caught the scent of a bear. After finishing my prey, Felix was leaning against a tree with his arms folded and smirking at me. How do you stand it? I folded my arms. What are you talking about? He shrugged off the tree. I mean hunting these beasts. I shrugged. I prefer. Besides, I don't want to harm humans. He laughed. Please, these humans are nothing. I stood by him. I can't agree with you. Being that I was human last year. Though I cannot remember my life, I know my family is still out there. Felix down at me. Huh, too bad Arrow couldn't help you. I looked away and sighed. I know. There is no need to remind me. I caught her scent and ran to find Irina. Felix was behind me and I sped ahead leaving him behind. I found Irina speaking with Dmitri. She was smiling brightly and I shook my head. Another conquest for Irina. That did not interest me. We ran back to the tower and I went to my room. Irina spoke with Dmitri for the night. I knew her tactics. She was starting to break down his defenses. There was a knock on my door. Come in. Felix entered the room. Isabella. Yes. I want to apologize. I looked at him. For what? For what I said to you early about your human life. That was insensitive. I smirked. Arrow told you to apologize, didn't he? He smiled. Yes. I laughed. Okay, I accept. Just don't make any reference to my choice of diet, then we can put it behind us. Felix and I spoke for the rest of the night. He told me how he became a member of the guard. Felix explained that he has been with the Volturi for centuries and does not remember his human life. For 6 months, Irina and I lived in Volterra. During our time, several members of the guard helped me develop my shield. Arrow praised me often and that angered Jane. She and I did not get along. I could feel it on my shield when she tried to attack me. Felix saw my irritation and often provided me a distraction. Running through the night, speaking to each other and laughing, I was beginning to like Felix, but I nodded. Ed that the way he felt about me was stronger. Somehow, this felt oddly familiar. When I had these feelings, I wrote them in a journal. I deduced that these feelings were attached to repressed memories of my human life. My journal was my only connection to the life I had. 4 years has passed since Irina and I came to Volterra. She had her conquest over Dmitri. When he was away, she gloated about it. He was hard to break. But it was fun. I noticed changes within myself while I was with Irina. I became more confident and more aware of the power my physical body held. I saw how Felix would watch me as I walked past him. Though my relationship with Felix was nothing like Irina's and Dmitri's relationship, Felix and I were still close. He has made it obvious that he wanted a more physical relationship. But I was not interested in that. There were plenty of times when we had stolen kisses, but I knew that was not enough for Felix. He always said that he would not pressure me into anything I didn't want to. But he was still a man. Arrow has asked me on several occasions if I would join his guard, but I always declined. Some days, I would see Irina was always sad. What's the matter? I asked her after we hunted. I miss my sisters. I speak to them from time to time, but I really miss them. I scoffed. Then why didn't you say something sooner? I would love to meet your sisters. Let's go. She looked at me. What about Felix? I made a face. What about him? He'll live. She laughed. Okay. I'll call Tanya and tell her we're coming. Personally, I would make it a surprise, but that's just me. We ran back to the tower and began packing our clothes. While I finished packing, Irina went to inform Arrow about our decision to return home. Someone knocked on my door. Come in. It was Felix. You're leaving. I nodded. Yes. Irina wanted to go home and I wanted to meet her family. His eyes widened. And you weren't going to tell me? I looked back. Of course I was, Felix. This is just not easy. He sighed. And I cannot convince you to stay. I looked back and rolled my eyes. Felix. I looked back at him with large eyes. I'm sorry, Felix. But, Irina is my sister. I wrapped my arms around him and buried my head into his vast chest. I'll miss you. And I will try and come to see you soon. I smiled. Besides, your best friend is the world's best tracker. I'm sure he can find Irina and me in no time. He smiled at me. I am going to miss you so much. He kissed my hair, placed one finger under my chin and lifted my face so that he could kiss me. His arms tightened around me, lifting my feet off the floor. I ended the kiss. I'm not leaving right away, I whispered. He chuckled and put me down. I'll see you later. He closed the door and I made a face. I was glad we were leaving. Because I was tired of trying to maintain a non-physical relationship with Felix. Even though I would miss him, I wanted to get away from his watchful eye. If any other man would even look at me, Felix would keep them away from me. Soon, Irina came to my room and had our clothing mailed to her home in Denali. Felix and Dmitri offered to take us to the airport. Dmitri felt the same way as Felix did. And Irina felt the same way as I did, except she wanted more conquests. She enjoyed Dmitri, but she wanted something new. Felix held me as his side for as far as he could. At the security check, he finally released me. He kissed me again and this time I teased him. I hitched my leg around his leg. Bye Felix, I whispered against his lips. Irina and I waved and then we were on our way to Denali. Are you really going to miss Dmitri? She smiled. Not that much. I've had my fill of him. What about you and Felix? I smiled coyly. I can honestly say, he'll never forget me. Irina and I talked for the rest of our flights. Soon, we were in Denali, where two blonde women met us at the airport. Tanya, Kate, Irina hugged the two women. They looked at me and the taller of the two approached me. You must be Isabella. I'm Tanya and this is Kate. Tanya and Kate hugged me and we drove to their home. There, I met Carmen and Eliezer. Carmen laughed. Finally, we are evenly matched. I smiled. How do you mean? 3 brunettes to 3 blondes. I giggled as Carmen showed me the room, which they designated for me. Soon I was settled in. I was welcomed into the family. Carmen helped me hang up my clothes from Volterra. This was another oddly familiar feeling. I wrote this out in my journal. Everyone wanted to know about Irina and my life with the Volturi. She bragged about Dimitri and she said that I would have to be taught to close the deal with men. Irina, I'm not interested in making conquest over men. That works for you, not me. This wasn't the last time this topic was discussed. Tanya was more interested in finding out who I was. Thank you, Tanya, but no thank you. I have made my peace with me not knowing my human life. I wasn't easy, but it is easier for me to move on. She nodded. All right. Eliezer and I become close. He was so much like a brother to me, as Carmen, Tanya and Kate became sisters to me. The 6 of us lived together, having a long life together. I learned to let go of my desires of knowing my human life, because I knew as I got older in this life, I would have forgotten it either way. So, I moved on and focused on my future. I loved living in Alaska. The snow was beautiful and the wildlife was varied. Sometimes Irina and I would go away for days, just hunting. Tanya, Kate, Carmen and Eliezer asked us about our years with the Volturi. If she could, Irina would blush. I rolled my eyes. It was interesting living with them. Besides feeding on humans, they were a very sophisticated and refined clan. They questioned us on several occasions on why we fed the way we did, and that got old fast. Irina patted my hand. Yeah, but once we got the key members of the guard on our side, the interrogations ended. She and I smiled brightly at each other. Tanya and Kate looked between us. Do you mean Dimitri and Felix? Carmen asked. I hid my face in Irina's neck. She laughed. Yes, I got Dimitri in less than a month. But Isabella, she nudged my face with her chin, couldn't seal the deal with Felix. I pulled away from her. Stop it. I told you I'm not interested in that. Eliezer rolled his eyes and smiled. Sounds like girl time. If you'll excuse me. He dashed out the glass-paned double doors. Kate giggled and pulled her legs up onto the couch. Okay, now that he's out of the room, I want details. Irina went into her tales of sneering Dimitri time and time again. When she was done, the focus fell on me. I sighed. Felix definitely wanted a more physical relationship, but that wasn't something I've ever wanted. Carmen blinked. So you've never? I shrugged. I have no idea. But I don't think so. I mean, when I was with Felix, I felt anxious, like it was my first time doing anything like that. We discussed my relationship and it was concluded that I never have been with a man. Irina and Kate decided that they would help change that status. Only Tanya respected my request to not trying to change my status. I really liked all of Irina's sisters and they welcomed me as their sister. For 2 days straight, the 5 of us sat in the living room talking. They told me about their pasts and Carmen told me how she met Eliezer. Soon, Eliezer joined us for hunting. You have no interest in finding out who you were as a human? Eliezer asked me. I shook my head. Arrow was the last resort. His power didn't work on me. Eliezer found that fascinating. A shield. I looked at him. A what? He smiled. That was role in the guard. I detected the abilities of others. You are a shield. Even now, you are blocking me. And I doubt Kate can hurt you. I smiled. Maybe. Jane and Alec couldn't affect me either. Jane hated me for that. I smirked. Yes, Jane prized herself as Arrow's best guard. I smiled. Well, maybe I should have joined the guard. She would have been knocked out of that position very quickly. Eliezer told me about all the ones he found, including Dimitri, Chelsea and Felix. For our hobbies, my Muse sisters and I enjoyed shopping, dancing, gossiping, redecorating, driving and listening to music. Tanya loved designing new clothes and I would help her make them. Irina would shop for shoes and accessories to go with the new ensembles. Something I learned to be good at was computers. I learned a lot about them and how to rewire them, so that they could be touch sensitive to our hard skin. Tanya had taken to designing on the computer, and Carmen, Kate and I convinced her to sell her designs to boutiques in California. To go with Tanya's clothes, Irina and Kate started designing accessories to go with them, and Carmen and I designed the shoes. Soon, the lines were coming out faster than Tanya could sell them, so we decided to start our own company online, and Eliezer helped us. From time to time, I would get feelings of familiarity. When I would have disputes with Tanya, the way she glared at me brought on the feelings. Also, when Carmen would take up for me and when Eliezer would annoy me, more feelings would emerge. While thinking about a design for shoes, a tune just came to me. It was familiar, and when I hummed it, I would feel better. I would feel secure, somehow, but I didn't remember where it came from. I think I knew that song from when I was human. Part of me wished I could remember where I came from, but it was pointless. As more time went by, it became more likely that I wouldn't find out who I was. Feeling this way, somehow, this brought back feelings of familiarity. But oddly enough, this feeling wasn't about me. It was about someone I knew. When I wrote these feelings down in my journal, I would temporarily put them away so that I could focus on the life I had now. When I would sit with my brother and sisters, just playing cards or laughing, I had the sense that I had never had that before in my life. Another feeling I wrote down: I thought I was an only child. But more feelings contradicted it. When Carmen would brush my hair and select my clothes, I had the feeling that I at least had a sister. I tried to not let my sisters know about all this because I didn't want them to worry. I looked out my window, wondering if there was anyone out there who could help me remember who I was. I found myself staring at my own reflection, trying to remember my human eyes. What they looked like. I tried to imagine myself with green, blue or hazel. None of them seemed to fit. Isabella. I looked up. Kate was peeking into my room. Yes. She sat at the windowsill with me. I wanted to shoo you. She noticed my face. What is it? I smiled. Nothing. Kate studied my face as I looked over her work. Isabella, something's wrong. I could tell. I tried to smile, but it faltered. I was just thinking about my human life. Kate was going to interject, but I held up one hand. Of course, I'm still going to wonder, but I try not to dwell on it. Isabella, all you have to do is say the word and we can start looking. Thank you, Kate. I know, but I have the feeling my human life was full of pain and I'd rather not remember that. Kate and I resumed our work. Tanya was also worried about me. Painful or not, she still believed I should try to find out who I was. Irina, let's go, I called out to her. Carmen, Irina, Kate and I were going out dancing. The four of us got into Kate's car and we were off. As usual, all eyes were on us as we entered the party. We were known as the Denali sisters. As far as the public knew, Tanya was the eldest and I was the youngest. Carmen was the only one married and she lived with us, along with her husband. On other days, Carmen and I would go swimming in the lakes. The water would freeze a human to death, but it didn't bother us. Carmen, Eliezer and I would always get into debates with Tanya, Kate and Irina. The six of us were happy and this would bring on more feelings of familiarity. Not just sitting with people, but people with similar traits. Irina and I have been here for almost a year and Tanya was telling me about their family that I would be meeting soon. She told their leader that they had a new sister and were very anxious for them to meet me. I waited anxiously myself. I heard Tanya on the phone with him. Carlisle, I can't wait for you to meet her. You would really like her. I stifled a giggle. I saw the picture of the family she spoke of on the mantle, the Cullens. They were another clan that lived as we did, feeding on the blood of animals. Tanya said they would be here soon and that I would like them. Looking at their picture, I was sure she was right. It has been more than 6 damning years since we left Forks. I just left Brazil, living most of the time away from my family. It took Emmett and Alice to finally convince me to return. Carlisle and the other were in Ithaca, New York, and it was time for them to move on. Esme did not want to move on without me. Edward, I hate to say it, but you've left me no choice. Esme said that she cannot move on again. Not without another one of her children. That convinced me. It was clear that my family still loved and missed Bella very much. Esme and Carlisle were ecstatic to see me. Rosalie was happy as well, but she was still self-centered. About time you dragged yourself out of your depression. It's been more than 5 years. I don't care if it's been 6 years or 600 years, I still though. Tea about my beloved angel every minute of every day. Every day, I thought about going to see her. But as each day changed into months to years, it got harder and harder to return to her. Right now, she is almost 25 years old. I could almost imagine what she would look like. Her features more defined, from the curve of her cheekbones to the contours of her legs, my Bella must be even more beautiful. But, I couldn't call her that. She wasn't my Bella. I winced. I hated thinking that, but it was true. I had to let her go, for her own good. It's only been 6 years, but I wonder if she had forgotten me. I know I would never forget her. But I hoped that she would think about me. I hoped that she found the box under her floorboard, where I left our pictures. If she found it, did it make her happy or sad? Did she keep them or burn them? Edward, if you want me to check on her, just say the word. Alice tried to comfort me. But I wasn't comforted. I would never be comforted again. My only comfort was thinking that Bella was leading a happy, human life, free of interference from me and my kind. I thought of her as a successful career woman, happily married to a man whose love for her was a dim light to the fire that still burned in my heart for her, and a loving mother. Their child should have her eyes and face, not to mention her cleverness and strong will. I had to stop. Thinking of her made my chest and body ache. I don't even recognize myself in the mirror. I know I have not changed in almost a century, but the man that looks back at me is truly a shell of the man I once was. I wasn't the man I was before I met her, and I was most certainly not the man I was when I was with her. The man that stared back at me was somehow paler, weaker, and less of a man and more of a thing. A being that walked around day to day, just feeding and existing. That is all I do. I don't laugh. I don't smile. I run, but I only run out of necessity. I run away from my pain and grief. But it is useless. It follows me like a shadow, haunting me, reminding me of what I had to let go. My chest was hollow and an echo of the heart that was once there. All at the same time, I knew where my heart was, but I did not where to find it. I tried to maintain my distance from my family. I didn't want them to suffer because of my proximity. They were all happy I was back, but concerned even more. He is awful. You should have seen him when we found him. He barely feeds, his clothes were in tatters, and from what it looked like, he hadn't moved in weeks, Alice explained to Carlisle. It is difficult to lose the one you love. But for our kind, it's even worse. Look at Marcus of the Volturi. He lost his wife over a millennia ago and he still mourns her. He's despondent and uninterested in anything. It was clear I had to try to at least put on a brave face for my family's sake. If we were going to be with my family again, I would have to learn to become sociable again. I still wouldn't participate in sports with my brothers. I would hunt on my own and I would shy away from physical contact. I was hollow and my family understood. But, when I was with them, I would try. I would try to smile at the IR jokes and interact with their conversations. Carlisle spoke with all of us one evening. All right, it is time for us to move on. Tanya said we should come to Denali. Of course Tanya would. She thinks she could make me forget Bella. She said they have a new sister and is excited for us to meet her. Alice smiled and tried to look for her. And Tanya has requested that Alice doesn't look for her, because she wants everyone to meet her at the same time. Alice made a face. I don't want to wait. I half smiled at my sister's stubbornness. She pouted and folded her arms, picking that habit up from Bella. I looked down and remembered how she looked when she did that. Tanya is very happy with her new sister and we should get to Denali as soon as we can. So, everyone voted and it was decided that we spend some time in Denali getting to know our new cousin. Alice was still grumbling that she could not look for the girl. It's not fair. I want to know who she is. Rosalie groaned. And you will, as soon as we all meet her. I walked out of my room to go hunt. Get over it, Alice. We'll meet her soon enough. She stuck her tongue at me. Not soon enough for me. I found myself chuckling at my sister's stubbornness. After I hunted, I found Alice in my room, packing my clothes. Edward, I was just doing you a favor. Thanks, Alice. I sat on the floor and looked out the window. Edward, I miss her too. I closed my eyes and leaned my head against my knees. Can I admit something to you without you getting mad? I shrugged. At first, I didn't completely stop looking for her future. I figured you wouldn't. She was your best friend. I heard her laugh once. I know I shouldn't have, and I've stopped for a long time now. But still I saw Alice reminiscing about her time with Bella. With them watching movies in Alice's bedroom. To brushing her hair while Bella sat on the floor and them laughing together in the school cafeteria. I sighed. I wish it could have been different, Alice. But it had to be done. She sighed. I know. She sat with me on the floor and leaned her head on my neck. I wish for the same thing. So do I. Emmett entered the room. Both of us looked up. I kind of feel cheated. I had the least amount of time with her. I'm sorry, Edward, but she was a great little sister. I miss her a lot too. She made me laugh. Emmett sat on my couch, but like you said, we had to keep her safe. Alice took my hand. Yes, that was the first priority. Soon, we were landing at Clearwater Airport in Cantwell, Alaska. We drove to the house, where we found Tanya and Eliezer alone. Carlisle, I've missed you. When Tanya saw me, is he doing any better? Carlisle shook his head. He still misses her. We all do. All of us sat in the living room. I stood in the corner, while everyone spoke. Where is everyone else? Alice asked, dying to meet their new sister. Oh, out dancing as usual. They're enjoying their favorite game, who can get the most phone numbers. Rosalie laughed. Okay, Tanya, can I at least see when they're coming home? Tanya scowled at Alice. No, because I know you. You're going to try and see who she is. Alice folded her arms and Jasper kissed her cheek. While they spoke, Emmett's eyes looked over the mantel. His eyes fell on one picture in particular. Tanya, is that her? He got up and took the picture. Yes, that's our new sister, Isabella. Emmett took in her face and I flashed to his side. She looks just like Bella. Emmett wasn't exaggerating. Alice took the picture. Bella. Tanya looked at us. No, Isabella. Alice looked at her. Yeah, that's her full name. Isabella Marie Swan. Tanya stood. You know her. Esme looked at the picture. That's the girl we had to leave behind. Tanya's eyes widened. What? Irina found her 6 years ago in Quebec. She has complete amnesia. She doesn't remember a thing from her human life. Tanya explained how Irina found Isabella, how they tried to find out who she was, but failed, so they went to the Volturi. Arrow's power didn't work on her, but they stayed for a few years before returning to Denali. She's been here for months. Carlisle, I swear, had I known I would have called you much sooner. Carlisle patted Tanya's shoulder. I know. You say she doesn't remember anything. Tanya shook her head. She doesn't even remember being turned. I looked at Carlisle. How could this have happened? We left to protect her. Oh my gosh, I feel awful. Edward, believe me, I truly did not know. I never knew what the girl looked like. I nodded. I know, Tanya. I believe you. Where are they? Just then, we heard the car arriving. The door opened and I heard their laughter and bantering. Alice beamed. I can't believe this. She's here. The front door opened. Irina, I'm not being biased. This drive does look better on me because of my dark hair. Copper is a great color on me. Irina groaned. Isabella, you have no idea what you're talking about. I heard her laugh and already I felt uplifted. Carmen and Kate rounded the corner. Carlisle. Irina was next. Fine, let's ask Alice and see what she thinks. Finally, there she was, Bella. Her hair was longer, down to her waist, her eyes were gold and she was thinner. She wore a ruffled Cooper dress, which stopped mid-thigh with strapped shoes. She smiled brightly at our family. I couldn't stop myself. Before she spoke, I dashed across the room, held her face and kissed her. I pulled her into my body and kissed her. I parted her lips with my own. I felt her hands on my back and I devoured her even more. Soon, her fingers dug into my CK and suddenly I was being thrown to the ground. She stood over me, with her hand grasping at my neck. Her face was livid and Irina took her hand. Edward, why did you do that? Irina scolded me. Men hugged Bella's shoulders and Eliezer helped me up. Her thrust was powerful. My body left an indentation on the floor. I looked at her. I'm sorry, but I do not know you, she spat at me. She looked at Irina. Does he usually greet people like that? Irina shook her head. If he did, Tanya would be very happy. Irina and Bella went off to the kitchen. Emmett broke the silence with his laughter. She's still got it. Only Bella could make me laugh this hard. Alice couldn't help smiling, as did Rosalie and Jasper. Way to go, Edward. Rosalie tried not to laugh. Hey, we better get going. The Cullens will be here soon, Kate said over the music. Irina groaned. A few more minutes. I just need one more number to beat Isabella. I laughed. Good luck, sister. You'll never beat me. Let's go. In the car, Irina was still upset. First, you wear my dress, then you don't give me time to beat you. Carmen and I laughed together. Firstly, Irina, I wear the hell out of this dress, and second, you will never beat me. We bickered back and forth all the way home. We saw the cars outside the house and knew they were here. Irina, let's just be honest. Copper is a great color on me. It looks better on me. I rolled my eyes. Not really. Your hair clashes with the color. She looked back at me. You are so biased. I scoffed. Irina, I'm not being biased. This dress does looks better on me because of my dark hair. Copper is a great color on me. Irina groaned. Isabella, you have no idea what you're talking about. We went into the living room and I saw the Cullens. Right as I was about to introduce myself, Edward dashed across the room. I knew he was the one Tanya wanted, but he didn't want her. He looked into my eyes and held my face. Instantly, he was kissing me. My eyes blinked until they slowed closed. This felt so much more than familiar. Like a dream forgotten. He parted my lips and I tasted his breath on my tongue, bringing back more familiar feelings. I dug my fingers into his back. A growl building in my chest, and I threw him off me and onto the floor. I clutched at his throat, ready to rip it out. Irina grabbed my other hand and pulled me away from him, and Carmen held my shoulders, trying to calm me. Edward, why did you do that? Irina scolded him. I glared at him. I'm sorry, but I do not know you. I looked at Irina. Does he usually greet people like that? Na shook her head and towed me through the kitchen and out the back door. Carmen followed soon after. Well, that is one way to greet your new family. I scoffed. Yay, maybe in the South. They laughed and that helped with my irritation. I looked back to the house and saw Emmett laughing, and he punched Edward's shoulder. Edward looked upset and he shook his head. He was speaking quickly and quiet why, and I was too far to pick up what they were saying. Come on, Isabella, let's try this again. Carmen took my hand and I sighed. Fine. But if he kisses me again, I cannot be held responsible for my actions. Carmen looked back at me and smiled. He won't. We went into the living room from the double glass doors, and Edward was on the other side of the room, with Emmett and Carlisle. Emmett was still shaking with laughter and he winked at me. I raised an eyebrow and rolled my eyes. Before I sat down, Alice hugged my neck. Oh Bella, I've missed you so much. I looked at Kate with a confessed face and she bit her lip. I'm sorry, but my name is Isabella. Alice looked up at me. I know. Your name is Isabella Marie Swan. That shocked me to my core. What? Alice beamed. I knew you when you were human. We all did. My eyes widened and I looked at Irina. Did you know? Of course not. I'm just as surprised as you are. Carlisle stepped away from Edward. None of your sisters knew. But yes, we did know you when you were human. Irina held my hand as the Cullens explained who I was. You had just moved to Forks, after your mother remarried and she wanted to travel with your stepfather. They live in Jacksonville. Your dad, Charlie, was the police chief. Alice explained everything about my time in Forks and how she knew me. Irina went into my room and got the hospital ID and gown she found me in for Carlisle. This looks like the identification card from Tacoma General Hospital. We used to outsource our patients there from Forks. Kate flashed to the computer and found He contact information about Tacoma General. She handed me the information. What do you want to do? I looked at her. Could you call? She nodded and took out her cell phone. Yes, I am calling about a previous patient. An Isabella Marie Swan. There was paper ruffling on the other end of the phone. Yes. She went missing about 6 years ago. Kate held my wrist. Yes. Was she about 5'4"? had long brown hair and. She looked at Alice, who mouthed the answer, dark brown eyes. The receptionist answered, yes, she did. And her birthday was September 13th, from Forks and was admitted for amnesia. The nurse gasped, yes, she was taken from the hospital and no one has heard from her since. She was presumed dead, but no one ever found her body. I sighed, can I go to the hospital about my information? Kate held up one finger, then looked at Carlyle. His hand was outstretched for the phone. Hello, my name is Dr. Carlyle Cullen. I have done previous work in your hospital. The nurse gushed, of course. I remember you, Drive. Cullen. Alice held my shoulder as Carlyle requested that my information be faxed to him, as he is taking over as my doctor. Within 15 minutes, my medical file was faxed over. Isabella, I thought you didn't want to find out who you were. Tanya asked. I sighed, because I thought it was hopeless. Carlyle went through my files. It says you were in a car crash and had severe head trauma. He showed me the picture of myself. In the picture, my eyes were closed and my face was cut and bruised. There was a cut over my lip and another slashing across my right eye. Oh no, I pushed the picture away. Esme looked at it, with Emmett and Edward. It says you had a metal plate put in for the rupture in your skull. I brushed my fingertips my hair and I felt nothing out of place. Carlyle checked, here's where the stitching was done. I gasped and Irina hugged me. I took the file, it says my truck was totaled and it was a miracle I survived. I had a dislocated shoulder and several slipped discs. They were concerned that I may not walk again. I closed my eyes. Irina, take this. I can't read anymore. Irina took the file and read. I felt like I wasn't able to breathe. In one fell swoop, my life was kicked out from under me. I knew my human life had a lot of pain and I had the feeling that this was just the beginning. Isabella, Alice says your father still lives in Forks. I looked at Eliezer. He does. I whispered and he nodded. I can't see him like this. He'll know something is wrong with me. I leaned my head back on the couch. Besides, how do I explain my absence for the last 6 years? Emmett stood over me and I looked up at him. You were kidnapped and you had amnesia. I think those are good enough reasons. I shrugged. Good point. I went to my room and read my file, trying to unlock my memories. My earliest memory was of a woman saying she was going to help me. As I thought about it more, she had violet eyes, along with her red hair. My human memories were so fuzzy. I closed my eyes and tried to remember more, but it was as if my mind was locked away from myself. I opened my laptop and researched myself. I found my file on the missing persons list. There was my picture and I saw myself with my brown eyes and smiling. This was my human face before my car accident. I printed it out to show my sisters. Carmen met me at the top of the stairs. Don't be mad, but Tanya and Kate got the directions to your dad's address in Fork. I inhaled deeply. Dead blondes walking. I showed Carmen my picture, as we went downstairs. Edward was speaking with Eliezer. Yes, when I first came here, escaping, it was because of her blood. And when we left, they looked up. When Carmen and I reached the living room, yes. Why did you leave? I looked at all of them. As matter of fact, if you hadn't left, I have the feeling this wouldn't have happened to me. Carmen showed Tanya, Kate and Irina my picture. Wow, you had beautiful eyes, Tanya complimented. I half smiled, thanks. But I wonder how you got into that car accident. I shrugged, I have no idea. And I thought my truck was indestructible. My eyebrows furrowed and I looked away from everyone. How did you know that? Jasper asked. I have no idea. It just came to me. Edward and Eliezer looked at each other. Eliezer nodded slightly to Edward, who looked back at me. What else can you remember? I closed my eyes and focused. Trying to remember, I saw a flash of an image. I opened my eyes, a bulbous cab, that was kind of burnt orange and huge headlights. Edward stepped closer to me. That was your truck. My eyes widened and I looked at Carmen, who was smiling. Apparently, your memory isn't gone for good. I sighed, yay, but I honestly think, whoever did this, meant for my memory to be lost permanently. Everyone sat in the living room and we discussed me going back to Washington to speak with my dad. Trust me, he'll be so happy to see you. Esme reassured me. I looked down at the floor. Yeah, and he could definitely help me remember my life. I was still unsure if I wanted my father to see me like this. Hold I let the past die and move on with my future. My sisters didn't push me into making a decision. Out of all of them, Irina was the most supportive. She read more information from my medical file. You were born in Forks, Washington in 1987, to Charlie and Renee Swan. I was sitting on the mantel of the high window, in the staircase. I watched the sunrise in the distance. Bella. I didn't move. They sighed. Isabella. I turned and saw Esme looking at me. Alice and Emmett were with her, standing by the banister on the top floor. I stood and leapt onto the banister's edge. Yes. Alice rolled her eyes. So. We can't call you Bella. I shrugged. I'm used to Isabella. But, you can call me Bella, just don't expect me to answer every time. Emmett chuckled and punched my shoulder. You're still extremely sarcastic. I smiled and punched him back. Thanks. Isabella. Get off the banister, Kate scolded. Yes, mother. I stepped off, in time to avoid a book being thrown at me. I caught it mid-air and flung it back, hitting Kate in the back of the head. She snarled and I laughed. Gotta go. Kate flew up the stairs and I jumped down them and dashed out the front door. Tanya, Carl, Isle and Edward watched as I ran out of the house. I'm going to kill you, Good luck, Cat. Kate ran after me. I sprinted ahead, heading north. Kate was on my tail and I dove into the lake. It was iced over, but that did not stop me. Kate followed me in and swam straight for me. I dove deeper, but was stopped as Kate caught a fistful of my hair. She and I fought under the water, until we started laughing. She and I swam to the surface. Don't ever call me Mom, she gasped. That's Tanya. I sighed, agreed. Dripping wet, Kate and I ran back to the house. By the time we reached the house, our clothes were practically frozen. Kate and I walked arm in arm past the living room, where Tanya, Carlisle, Edward and Jasper were. Tanya gasped, "Get in here." Kate and I rolled our eyes and went to face our sister. "What is with you two?" she ordered. I laughed. "Hey," Kate started it. "I just finished it." Tanya looked us over. "What happened?" Kate eyed me. "Isabella fell in the lake and I went in to save her." I rolled my eyes and smiled. "I swear, you two act like teenagers." I scoffed. "Hey, physically, one of us is still a teenager." Tanya shook her head and looked down. "Kate, are those my new suede boots?" I looked down and stepped back as Kate backed away. "I'm gonna kill you." Tanya spat and ran after Kate. I watched as my sisters ran through the back door. I ran my fingers through my hair and saw icicles in my palm. "Bella, what happened? Why was Kate chasing you?" Carlisle asked. I sighed and smiled. Playful relationship. I called her Mom, and she wanted to take my head off. Basically, everyday stuff. Jasper chuckled. "You guys are always like that." I nodded. "Yes, and I bet you anything someone is going to threaten Tanya's life before the sun sets." Jasper Florida's head to my side and Emmett was right behind him. "How much?" I looked up. $500 each. They nodded and left the room. I rolled my eyes. Easy money. Edward was staring at me and I looked back. Yes. He blinked. "I'm sorry. That must be annoying." I smiled. "Not really, I'm used to it. Guys stare at me all the time." He smiled. "I've always said they did." I looked at him. "What do you mean?" "When you were human, you didn't really consider yourself beautiful. You didn't understand why guys would ask you out." I raised my eyebrows. "Really? That doesn't sound like me at all." He smiled. "Yes, that was you." I half smiled. At least that changed, but I have to admit, I was a little shy when I was first changed. But living under Irina's influence, that really changed. I had the majority of the guard wanting me. It was fun. He sighed. "Bella, I want to apologize." I looked at him. "I shouldn't have kissed you. I didn't know your whole story and I was so overwhelmed seeing you, I couldn't help myself." I smiled. "I understand. Alice actually told me I was your girlfriend, but she wouldn't tell me why we broke up. She said it should come from you." He folded his arms. "Yes, I know. I bit my lip. I just want to know one thing and we could put every else off for another time." I looked into his eyes. "Do you still care about me?" He nodded once. "I do." I smirked. "I figured, by the way you kissed me." "I'm not going to lie, When you kissed me, it felt familiar. Like I've done it before. Edward watched my face as I started to think about our encounter yesterday. The way he held my face. To when his lips were on mine, a warm feeling grew in my chest. I shook my head slightly and looked back at him. Sorry. I was just thinking about something. I know. I could still read your face. I blinked. Read my face. Edward gestured for me to sit on the couch. You had that look in your eyes which you always got when you thought about something. It's like your eyes were focused on something, but at the same time, they are looking at something far away. I smiled. I'll be right back. I just want to change my clothes. I sprinted upstairs, feeling lighter. I felt happier finding out more about myself. But I did not believe it was just that. Sitting with Edward, that was it. I was feeling lighter and happier. I ran down the stairs, hoping he hadn't moved. As I turned the corner of the living room, I saw he hadn't moved an inch. With that, I saw a flash of something. I froze in my tracks and stared. Bella. I blinked. I didn't know how to describe it. Edward took my hand and walked me over to the couch. He held my shoulders and motioned me to sit down. I looked at him. You've done that before. He blinked. What? Shish. There was something else coming to me. Have you ever held my wrists, saying that you were my prisoner? A smile was coming across his face. Yes, that was the first night you and I were in your bedroom. I looked down. Could you come with me for a second? I sprinted back to my bedroom, with Edward close behind me. I think, if we actually sat on my bed, more memories would come back. I sat on the edge of my bed. Okay, it with me exactly how we did that first night. Edward motioned my body so I was sitting in the middle of the bed, facing the head of the bed, and he sat in front of me. He held my wrists and that helped. Did I mention something about Rosalie? He nodded. Thinking more, I remembered something else, and you drew my hands behind you and my head was pressed in your chest. Yes, then Charlie was coming, and you told me to lie down. Right when he came to check on me. I smiled brightly. I remember that. What else can you remember? I thought more. I punched him in the arm. He looked at me baffled. What that for? I smiled. For flinging me over your shoulder and carrying me down the stairs. That scared me. Edward laughed. So, I was getting you back. Going through the memories I had gotten back with Edward's help. I've decided to go and see my father. To help me prepare, Alice bought me contact lenses that were close to my human eye color. I think it would be best if Carmen went with you, Alice recommended. She saw that Irina would be tempted to avenge Laurent, being that we would be close to the wolves. I wanted Alice to come with me, but Carlyle advised against it. If Harley sees you with Alice and finds out you have been living with our relatives, he may hold animosity towards our family for not contacting him sooner. I nodded. All right. So, it was decided, Carm. Anne and I would be leaving Friday night to go see my dad. Alice foresaw that it would be raining too hard for him to go fishing, which was his favorite hobby. While finishing getting dressed, I heard someone coming towards my room. I'm dressed, so come in. The door opened. Yes, Edward. He smiled. I have to ask you something. I smiled. When you get to Charlie's house, after you've spoken with him, go to your old bedroom. Look underneath the floorboard at the foot of your bed. There's something there that I need you to look through. Don't let Charlie see it. It's meant only for you. When you find it, I hope it'll help you remember even more. I blinked. Okay, I will. I walked to my door, but he extended his arm across the doorframe. I opened my mouth to protest, but he put his arm around my waist and closed the door. My body came alive with Edward this close to me. He pulled me closer, until my chest was pressed into his. Can I try again? He whispered. Yes. Edward tightened his hold on me. As he pressed his lips to mine, I wound my arms around his neck. His hand grazed down my back, until it was on the back of my thigh. He hitched my leg, lifting me off the floor, until my legs were wrapped around his waist. I undid my legs and pushed against his chest, until he fell on my bed. I crawled onto the bed and laid on him, kissing Edward. His hands were pressed into my back. Before long, there was a knock on my door, but we ignored it. Isabel. Oh my gosh. Edward and I sat up in shock. Carmen. My sister gawked at us, I'll wait for you downstairs. She closed the door and we heard her stifling her laughter. I pressed my face in his neck. I think it's time for me to go. He groaned. I know. I mean my dad's waited 6 years, what's another day? He looked at me. A day. I smiled. Yes, I was going to take it easy on you. He stroked my face, but I wasn't. You better go, before I keep you here. I got up. You're right. Besides, I was going to teach you some things you'd never forget. Oh well, see you when I get back. I heard him groan as I closed the door. I walked into the living room, where my sisters refused to look at me. All of them had coy smiles on their faces. Shut up, all of you. Irina put her hands in the air, as if surrendering. She took Kate's hand. Good luck with your dad. Tanya hugged me. Let us know what happens. If you want to stay there, we'll understand. I smiled. No, I'll be back. Carmen headed for the front door. Let's go. Outside, Emmett and Jasper were laughing, but they stopped when they saw me. Sorry. Emmett tried to explain. I held up my hand. We'll handle this when I get back. The both of you. Esme was with Alice and Rosalie. We'll be waiting to hear what happens. Call as soon as you can, honey. Carmen and I drove off, heading south. Soon, we were in Canada. While Carmen drove, I read all my information in my medical file, trying to get as much information as I can. Within a few hours, Carmen and I arrived in front of my father's house. I looked out the darkened window to the house that was once my home. You ready? Carmen squeezed my hand. I put in my contact lenses. No. Let's go. Carmen and I opened our umbrellas and walked up the steps. Making a fist, I raised my arm to knock, but I hesitated. It's okay. Carmen knocked for me. The door opened to an elderly man in a wheelchair. Carmen smiled. Hello. We're looking for Charlie Swan. The man in the wheelchair looked at me. Bella. I looked at him. He was elderly, with long black hair, with some gray strands. He had russet, wrinkled skin, with dark eyes. I heard 2 more heartbeats in the house. A tall russet man came up behind the man in the chair. Bella. When he came into view, there was a foul scent coming from him. Charlie. The both of them stared at me as another set of fast footsteps came down the stairs. It was a man with dark hair, like mine, with chocolate brown eyes, like mine were. Bella. He came to the door. Bella. Before I answered, he threw his arms around me. I don't believe this. I thought you were gone. He released me, but I stared back in shock. Carmen spoke. My name is Carmen. Denali and Isabella has been living with my family for some time now. May we come in? Charlie took my hand. Of course. I sat in the living room of my former home, with my sister. I saw several pictures of myself. From when I was younger. Oh my gosh, look at you. Carmen spoke so low that no one could hear us. The tall boy named Jacob sat furthest away from me and Carmen, but he was looking at us. His father, Billy, sat very close to Charlie. Charlie on the other hand was beaming, who sat by me to hold my hand. He was so happy to see me, that he didn't notice my cold skin. I cannot believe this. I thought I lost you a long time ago. I smiled sheepishly. I have to ask, how did I really end up in the hospital? All I know is that I was in a car accident and suffered from complete amnesia. Charlie sighed. I don't think we should discuss that. I looked at Carmen, then back to my dad. I want to know. I need to know everything that happened to me. It seems whenever I have encounters of things from my past, it triggers more memories. Charlie stood up and went by the window. All right. From what was seen, something smashed into the back of your truck, knocking it off the road. You had your seat belt on. But the truck rolled down a hill and was stopped by a huge tree. Actually, it was Jacob who found you. I looked over at him. He did. Jacob nodded. I was hiking with some friends when we heard the crash. He and Billy shared a glance. I raised an eyebrow. What happened to me? Jacob was beginning to scowl. You were beaten up pretty badly. When we got the car door open, Paul and I found you leaning against the door, with blood spilling from your forehead. Paul and I got you to the hospital, where Charlie met us. Charlie cleared his throat and rubbed his eyes. You were so battered. Jacob and I didn't leave you once, but the doctors said they would have to transport you to a bigger hospital, so that you could get better help. I went with you and the doctors were Worried that you may not be able to walk again. There was a lot of damage to your spine. Carmen leaned forward. How did Isabella disappear? Charlie's eyes were red as he looked at us. We don't know. When Bella regained consciousness, she didn't remember me. I told her who I was and she believed me. When she felt better, Bella convinced me to at least go home and get some real rest. You said you would be fine. I went home for a day, packed a few of her things and called Jacob to let him know that you were awake. Jacob was persistent in going with me to the hospital and that's when they called me. The hospital said a nurse went to check on you and you were gone. When I asked to see the security videos, for some reason, the cameras in the wing Bella was in were damaged, like someone plotted it. Charlie sat back down. We put out flyers, got a cover on the news in Seattle and all over Washington and nothing came up. It was like you disappeared, Bells. Carmen and I looked at each other. My sister. Well, Carmen's sister. Irina found me in Quebec. His eyes popped open. Quebec. How did you get there? I tried to hide my sarcasm. I don't know. My earliest memory is waking up, abandoned in a field. I staggered through the forest, until Irina found me. She helped me try to find out who I was. She saw I was in a hospital gown and my hospital identification just had my first name and middle initial on it. I stayed with Irina for a couple years, trying to find out who I was. After trying and failing so many times, I decided that I was going to give up and focus on my future. That's when we moved to Denali. After a few months, I decided that I didn't want to completely give up. Carmen, Kate and I did more research and found the hospital. That's what led me here. Charlie told me about my life and friends in high school and Jacob told me about the relationship I had with him. Billy even mentioned what kind of person I was. I felt the contacts in my eyes were about to dissolve. Dad, if you'll excuse me for a moment. I stood up, but looked around. Charlie smiled. Top of the stairs to the right. Right across the hall from your bedroom. I went upstairs, not before sharing a glance with Carmen. I'll be fine, she whispered. I made it upstairs, right as the contacts dissolved, which I was actually thankful for. I hated the way they distorted my vision. I went into the bathroom, but lingered for a moment, going through the sound effect motions. Leaving the bathroom, I crossed the hall into my old bedroom. In the room, there was a small bed that was once mine. A large framed mirror in the corner and a rocking chair by the window. I saw several pictures of myself. I don't know how long I stood in the room, because Carmen called me. Isabella. I turned and sat on the edge of the bed. This is your room. I nodded. Yes. She walked in. It's similar to your room at home. The mirror, the desk, maybe it was a repressed memory. I know. When I rearranged the furniture the way I did, it felt like home to me. Now I see why. Carmen stood. Your dad's waiting for you. I smiled. Tell him I'll be right there. Before leaving the room, I followed Ard's instructions and found the floorboard. Delicately lifting it, I saw a box covered in dust. I picked the box, but I didn't open it. I would wait until I was back in Denali to open it with him. I took up my old book bag and put the box inside. I went downstairs, after putting in new contacts. Carmen was standing in the living room doorway when I reached downstairs. My dad was speaking with Billy and Jacob. Sorry, I got sidetracked in my room. Charlie looked up at me. Bells, I was thinking that if you wanted to move back. I half smiled. I was thinking about that too, but I looked at Carmen. I think I need more time. Not to say I don't want to, it's just I'm not ready to leave my sisters. I took Carmen's hand. Tanya, Kate, Irina and Carmen have become my sisters. My big, much older sisters. Carmen shook off my hand and smiled. Ignore her, but yes, she has become our baby sister. And Tanya will be calling us any minute. Carmen took out her cell phone. Trust me, she'll be calling soon. I smiled. She can wait a little longer. I took Carmen's hand and sat down on the couch. I want to learn more about myself. Carmen and I spent a few more hours with my dad. Soon, Billy and Jacob left. I was reluctant to hug Jacob, because I knew what he was. Goodbye, Jacob. He nodded in return at me. Billy gave me and Carmen a long look, as if he was wary to leave Charlie alone with two vampires. Soon, I saw the time and it was getting late. I'm sorry, Charlie, but Isabella and I have to get going. Charlie's eyes saddened. Do you really? Bella, you know you can stay here. I smiled. I know. But like we said, Tanya will be waiting for us. I smiled. Besides, I'll be back next week. I was thinking, could I get Mom's number, so I could let her know I'm alive? Charlie wrote a number and saw me and Carmen off. I hugged. I'm so sorry you had to go through all this. Charlie kissed my cheek. I'm just glad you're alive. Come back soon. I got into the car with Carmen and we drove home. When we reached Canada, I took over and drove home. I cannot believe this. I had truly given up on finding out who I was, and now, I know. I gushed all the way home and Carmen laughed at some of the embarrassing things my dad said about me. While she laughed, I hummed my familiar tune that always comforted me. Soon we were home and Tanya was on alert. What happened? Tanya grabbed my hand and pulled me into the living room, where Esme and Alice were waiting for us. Tanya pushed me down onto the couch and sat next to me. Did you meet your father? I rolled my eyes. Yes. I met him and he was beyond surprised to see me. I think that he believed that I was dead. Irina came into the room. So, how did he react to you? She perched herself on the couch's arm and Carmen sat on my other side. Rosalie came in and sat with Alice and Esme. I sighed. Well, I think he was just astonished that I was back home again. Also, he had 2 friends over, one of which was a wolf. Everyone's eyes widened. What? Carmen sighed. Yes, the younger boy. He couldn't keep his eyes off of Isabella and his scent was terrible. I explained about our visit with my dad and said I was going back next week and I got the number to contact my mother. Esme smiled. Are you going to call her? I bit my lip. Not right now. She still lives in Florida and today was pretty long. I want to go to my room and see what was in the box. I noticed that the house was oddly quiet. Where is everyone else? Alice giggled. The guys went hunting. Emmett's idea. I nodded. Okay. We talked for another hour. Soon. I wanted to be alone. I wanted time to think on my own. My name is Isabella Marie Swan. I am 23 years old and I didn't even finish high school. I got into a car accident a few weeks before my graduation. I was somewhat romantically involved with the mutt at my dad's house, but he was my best friend. I sat by my window and hummed my tune. The box sat on my dresser. I thought more about my life. I was born in the small town, but I moved to California with my mom when I was 2 years old. I lived in Phoenix until I was 17, after my mom married my stepdad, who was a player in minor league baseball. They do not have any more children, so besides my Denali sisters, I am an only child. My dad was reluctant to talk about it, but I coaxed it out of him, my relationship with the Cullens. Alice was my best friend. She was there for me when I broke my leg, when I left my dad's house to go back to Phoenix. My dad was still grateful to Alice for that time. Also, my relationship with Edward. My dad wasn't too happy about it. He said the way Edward left me was wrong and the way I was, it was as if someone dies. It was only because of Jacob I was truly living again. Why did Edward leave? The way he kissed me since he saw I was a vampire, he wanted me so much. I looked at the box. Why did he want me to retrieve it? I closed my eyes and hummed, leaning against the wall. I tried not to dwell on that fact until he got here, so I could confront him. Behind my eyelids, I saw lights flash across the front of the house and I heard the tires of Eliezer's car. I remained in my spot as I heard Carlisle, Edward, Jasper, Emmett and Eliezer greet my sisters. How did everything go? Jasper asked. Carmen sighed. Very well. He was very happy to see here and please explain to me about the wolf in his house. Emmett laughed. They must be running wild down there. I heard Edward sigh. Where is she? Her room, Tanya answered. I heard him dash up the stairs on knock on my door. I opened my eyes slowly. Come in. He entered my room, with a bright smile. Hi. Hello. My voice was steely and hard. Can I come in? I nodded. He sat on the edge of my bed. I heard you had a great visit with Charlie. I smiled. Yay, I'm going back next week. And this week, I'm calling my mom. But I have to ask you something. I stared into my eyes. What is it? Is everything convenient for you now that I'm a vampire? He blinked once. What do you mean? I stared back. You left when I was human, but now that I'm a vampire, this must work out so much better for you. Edward just stared at me. What do you mean? I folded my arms. Please, my dad told me that you left me. Obviously, the public story was that your family moved to LA because Carlisle got a better job offer. But the truth was you got bored with a little human, so you left. My dad said the day you left, he had a search party looking for me and a family friend found me in the forest, practically unconscious on the ground. And now, all of a sudden, you see I'm a vampire and bonus, I have amnesia, so I don't remember what you did to me. Edward tried to take my hand, but I pulled away. Bella, please, I scowled, my name is Isabella. Before Edward could speak, there was a knock on my door. I closed my eyes and sighed. Come in, I answered from behind clenched teeth. Bella, please, let me explain everything. Alice entered the room, ready to take up for her brother. I half smiled in sarcasm. Fine. I want to hear this. She looked up at him. Leave us alone, Edward. Edward left the room without protest. Alice looked back at me. Okay, first, what else did Charlie tell you? He told me that you and I were really close. I think he still misses you. Also, that you threw me an 18th by RTH day party and for some unknown reason, I didn't want to celebrate my birthday. Alice smiled a bit. Okay, sit down. I stood rigidly and she pushed me onto my bed. She perched herself next to me on the bed. Okay, it was my fault. I should have listened to you when you said you didn't want any attention for your birthday. But our family hasn't celebrated a birthday since the 30s and that was for Emmett. Emmett and Rosalie even came home early to come to your party. That night, while you were opening your presents, she looked away and there was another knock on my door. Alice looked at the door. Come in, Jasper. I looked at him as he came to stand by the bed. Bella, this whole thing is my fault. If I weren't so weak. I looked between them. What happened? Jasper took my hand. I've wanted to apologize to you since that night. But Edward wouldn't let me near you. Bella, I should have been stronger. My eyes grew wider. Jasper, what are you talking about? It doesn't matter now, but please just tell me. When you were opening one of your gifts, you got a paper cut and a drop of your blood was exposed. When you were human, your blood had an amazing scent and I was still adjusting to drinking animal blood. But smelling your exposed blood, I lost it completely and I tried to attack you. Jasper leaned his head on my hand. Bella, I am so sorry. I tried to comfort him, but Alice continued the explanation. In trying to protect you from Jasper, Edward pushed you with too much force, knocking you into the fall on you fell on broken glass, cutting your arm. It took Rosalie and Emmett to get Jasper outside and Carlisle treated your arm. After Edward took you home, I had a vision of him leaving you. I protested it, but Edward saw that we were putting your life in too much danger. He also made me promise that I would not search for your future. That cut me even deeper. Besides myself and Emmett, everyone voted that it would be better for you if we left your life. Carl, I saw how much it pained Edward to leave you, but he also saw that Edward was making a tremendous sacrifice on his part. It pained Esme, because to her, it was like she losing one of her children, but she did not vote against Carlisle. Jasper voted. She caressed his face, voted that we leave because he did not want to put you in more danger. It took him so long to forgive himself. As for Rosalie, at the time, she didn't care much for you. I nodded. Yay, my dad did mention that. He made it seem like she was just a protective big sister. Alice nodded. Yay, she thought Edward was putting us all in danger by letting a human in on our family's secret. So, she voted that we leave because she wanted our lives to return to normal. Emmett didn't want to leave because he really liked. Emmett saw you as a younger sister. You two had a very playful relationship. And I didn't want to leave because you were my best friend. I saw it when you first came to Forks. After Edward saved you from being killed in a car accident, I saw it. I saw you as a vampire, being Edward's mate. I had two more visions of you and me as best friends. In one, you were still human and in the other, I saw you as a vampire, but in both, we were like sisters. I shook my head. Okay. First thing, I turned to Jasper. Stop beating yourself up. I was a temptation, but you didn't hurt me. He closed his eyes. Bella. If there is anything I can do for you, I will let you know, and that will be the end of it. Jasper smiled and kissed my forehead. Of course. I'll leave you two alone now. I looked back at Alice. So, what happened after you left? We came here. You know, we always come here when we are planning our next move. But it was awful. Edward stayed in his room for days, turning into weeks, not speaking to anyone. The family fought about what we could do to help him. After a few days, I went into his room and found him on the floor, and he was like a ghost. His face was worn and his eyes were black. When he looked at me, his face was grief-stricken. He barely spoke above a whisper and practically fell on me when I sat next to him. The way he looked, I couldn't let the family see him like that. So, Jasper and I took him hunting. He barely moved, so I put him over my shoulder and leapt out the window. Jasper took down an animal for him, but Edward's arrogance returned minutely and he hunted for himself. Soon, he left on his own for years. He just returned a few weeks ago, thanks to mine and Emmett's persuasion. But Bella, please, do not think that you being a vampire is more convenient for him. Seeing you here after all these years, he didn't care what you were, as long as you were here. I saw it. When we saw your picture on the mantle, my excitement was second to his. When we heard the car coming, I want to run out to see you, but I knew he would beat me. Bella, please do not be mad at him. No, we shouldn't have left you, but Edward's main concern was your protection. After what happened with James, he couldn't put your life in danger. I held up my hands. Who's James? She sighed. A tracker who tried to kill. My eyes widened. What? Alice explained about what happened when James and his coven encountered me with the Cullens. I was his most fun prize, to try and kill a human that was important to a coven as large as the Cullens. Jasper and Alice went with me to Phoenix, and Edward got me away from the tracker, but he had bit me. Edward drew the venom out of my system, keeping me human. Alice told me everything from what happened after we got back, up until my birthday party. She and I laughed at the memories, and some of mine returned on their own. I remembered being upset as Alice dressed me for the prom and the times she wanted to take me shopping for new school clothes. Bella, please. Edward was trying to do the right thing. And you were right. If we were there, you would not have gotten into your accident. Please, don't be mad at him. Believe it or not, Edward loves you very much, and it was difficult for him to go through these years without you. Seeing you here now, Edward is as alive as he was when he was with you. I closed my eyes. I believe you. I mean, part of me is still upset that he was able to leave me so easily, but I understand why he did it. Bella, it wasn't easy for him. He told me it was the hardest thing he's ever had to do. Okay, I believe you. Again. I got up off the bed and went to my dresser and took up my box. I wanted to open this with Edward, but will you? Alice shook her head. No, that's for you and Edward. I leaned my head back and groaned. Fine. She bounded off the bed. Trust me, Bella, once you get past this, you and Edward will be so happy again. Alice danced out of my room. I laid down on my bed and hummed to myself. The box sat on the bed, next to my head. Knock, knock, knock. Come in. I inhaled deeply. Why am I not surprised? Opening my eyes, Edward leaning against my door. Where did you get that song? I sat up. It just came to me one day. I was sitting by my window and this song came to me. My sisters can tell you, I always hum it. Whenever I need to think or upset, it just comforts me. He flashed to the bed and opened the box. Hang on. He took something out and went to my stereo. I made you this for your birthday. A song began to play and it was the one I hummed. My eyes widened. You made this. I looked back at me. I wrote you this song. When I first realized I was in love with you, I used to sneak into your bedroom window at night and watched you sleep. Stalker. I muttered under my breath. Emmett said that too, but while I watched you sleep, a song formed in my mind and I composed it for you. I called it Bella's Lullaby. Whenever I LD stay with you and you knew I was there, I would hum the song to you so that you could sleep. I stood up. What else is in there? He sat on the edge of the bed, pictures of us and the other gifts from your birthday. I took up a picture and it was of me and Edward. Once again, I saw myself with brown eyes. When was this taken? During the summer. You and I went to Port Angeles. Edward told me about that day. For the rest of the night, he told me everything about our relationship. From the swimming in the river behind his house, to going to Seattle, I saw how much Edward did love me. We spoke until dawn in my bedroom. All right, I need more time to think about things, but I will say I'm not mad for why you left. I know it wasn't easy for you, but what did you do? Edward placed his hand on mine. Nothing. All I did was think about you. I leaned my face into his neck. I'm more than sure that was all I did. Edward brushed my hair back. I am so sorry that I failed you. I'm so sorry, Bella. I only left because I wanted you to have a long, happy life. I looked up at him. Well, my life is now much longer than either of us thought. He smiled. That's true. I leaned away from him. I need to hunt. I went to my door and looked back. Are you coming? He looked up at me. Of course. Edward and I ran out into the night and hunted together, for I was sure, not the last time. Okay, but I'm not interested in shopping right now. I know that is completely weird hearing that from me. Alice smiled. Actually, I've heard this from you so many times. I rolled my eyes. Fine. Just want to hunt. Alice sighed. Fine. See you later. I wanted to be on my own for a while. Though I was remembering more and more about my life, I was still hesitant to have a relationship with Edward. But on the other hand, I wanted to be with him. Edward had his own boundaries as well. I overheard him saying to Carlisle and Eliezer that he felt that he wasn't good enough to be with me, after what he had done when I was human. The both of us still had our reservations on being with each other. Personally, I was willing to put the past behind me, but Edward was not. He blamed himself for what happened to me. If I hadn't left her, this wouldn't have happened. She would be human. I scoffed quietly. I rather enjoyed my life as a vampire. Alice and Esme explained that Edward never wanted me to be a vampire. He thought that it would be endangering my soul. Even now, I couldn't disagree with him more. Everything in life is a choice. I, or none of us, may not have chosen this life, but look what we had decided to do with it. Carlisle has worked for centuries working as a doctor and saving people's lives. I look at my family and the rest of the Cullens. They may have killed people in the past, but they have repented and followed Carlisle's way of life. Everything is a choice, and I firmly believed that none of my family or the Cullens was soulless beings. I have never killed a human, and as far as she remembers. Neither has Alice. I truly enjoyed being with Alice. Like me, she did not remember anything from her human life. She told me, in a way, she had to thank me for helping her find out who she was. When I was being cornered by the tracker, he admitted that he knew Alice when she was a human. He hunted her, but she was changed into a vampire. While the Cullens were away, Alice made it her personal project to learn about her own history. Mary Alice Brandon, that was her name. She continued to do research and find time to help me unlock my own memories. She sat with me while I spoke to my mother. My mother was so emotional over the phone. She said that she would fly to Forks to see me over the weekend. I cannot wait to see you. Before going to Charlie's, I had no idea what you looked like. It's funny. To know what you look like, all I had to do was look in the mirror. My mom laughter cut off into a sob. Where have you been, Bella? I closed my eyes. I never knew. I told you. Irina found me and she tried to help me find out who I was. There wasn't much to go on. All I had was a torn hospital identification with my first name on it. After trying so many times and coming up empty, I told Irina I wanted to stop. Irina pushed the matter, but it was becoming too painful for me. Being stopped after every turn, my breath hitched in my throat. I didn't let my sisters know how much it was hurting me. I'll leave you alone, Alice whispered. She left me alone in my room. Bella, please, move back home with Charlie. We're your family. I went to stand by window. Mom, please try to understand. Yes, that fact is more true than ever, but Irina, Tanya, Carmen, Kate and Eliezer are my family too. Besides, I'm in my 20s. I'd be on my own anyway. My mother sighed. Then how about moving closer? I looked out the window. Irina and Rosalie were talking. Mom, that I will have to think about. I'll see you this weekend, okay? My mother sniffled. All right, honey. Bye. I threw the phone across the room and it smashed into the wall. I opened my window and leapt out to the front of the house. Irina looked at me and Rosalie rolled her eyes. What's the matter? I just spoke to my mom. She practically begged me to move back to Forks. Well, why don't you? I sighed, because, 1, I'm a vampire. 2, my dad will notice a few changes, like me not eating. And 3, a pack of huge, mutant dogs like right down the road. Honestly, I don't know how the Cullens did it. Rosalie folded her arms. We have a treaty with them. I looked at her. A treaty? Rosalie nodded. We crossed paths with the wolves before, about 70 years ago. Carlyle convinced them we weren't dangerous to humans, because we drank animal blood. So, we laid a boundary line. That we do not cross and they do not attack us on our side. If either of those terms is broken, the war begins. I nodded. Good to know. But like I told you, one of them was there when I went to see my dad. She smirked. Yeah, Edward told us about that when he was dating you. Ephraim Black was the leader of the pack when we made the treaty, and his grandson, Billy Black, is Charlie's best friend. And his son, Jacob Black, was your friend. And, according to Edward's extra ability, he had a crush on you. My eyes widened. I don't think that's true anymore. Irina laughed. I think you should talk to the wolf though. Rosalie and I looked at Irina, then at each other. I held up one hand. Allow me. I looked at Irina. What the hell? Irina let out an exasperated sigh, as in, you want to know what happened when he found you in the truck on the day of your accident? I nodded. I hate it when she has a point. Irina scowled at me. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Rosalie sighed. Emmett is waiting for me. Rosalie dashed off and I stared after her. Rena, what was with Rosalie? Irina looked off in the direction Rosalie left in. She's just annoyed. She thinks you're stringing along Edward. I scoffed. He and I agreed to take things slow. He still feel awful for leaving in the first place and I don't want to jump into a relationship with him because of a past we had. That I don't even remember. I know that, but between you and me, Rosalie's always been a little selfish. When the Cullens first came here leaving Forks, Rosalie was complaining to she was upset that the family had to suddenly leave home because of you and Edward. She told Carmen and Tanya she thought it was reckless of him to have a relationship with you, exposing the family like that. I sighed and made a face. Really? I turned to go speaking with Rosalie, but Irina grabbed my arm. Don't. I know your temper. Calm down. Before making matters worse. I closed my eyes and nodded. You're right. But this wasn't over. Carmen went with me again to Forks to meet me mom and stepdad. My mom was an emotional mess. I smiled to myself. I slightly remembered her like that. She brought old movies of me when I was a child and Carmen ate them up. I shook my head. If you tell anyone about this, I'll kill you. She looked at me between giggles. I'll try. I watched the video of my 10th birthday party in California. I was awkward, clumsy and happy. While we watched the videos and spoke, there a visitor. Charlie answered the door and I caught the foul scent again. It was Jacob. Hi, Charlie. I was hoping to speak to Bella. Carmen and I looked at each other out of the corner of our eyes. Sure, Jake, let me get her. Do you want me to come with you? Carmen asked quietly and quickly. No, but stay close. Quickly, she pulled out her cell phone and called mine. Keep the line open so I can hear, in case you need me. I nodded as my dad patted my shoulder. Bells, Jake wants to talk to you. I smiled. I'll be right there. Carmen and I shared a glance as I got up. Jacob stood in the doorway and I stared back at him. Jacob turned silently and walked outside. Mutt, I muttered myself. I wrinkled my nose as I went outside. This was a better idea. The open air was helping. Is there something you want? Jacob looked back at me. Are you moving back here? I scowled. No, my parents want me to, but it's too dangerous for them. My vision just improved, as my contacts dissolved. Jacob looked at me. You're one of those. I raised an eyebrow. One of what? He pointed at me. You have gold eyes. You don't feed on humans. I shook my head. No. When my sister found me, she gave me the option, but since she was willing to help me, I decided to follow her lifestyle. I've never tasted human blood. Jacob scrutinized me with his eyes. Fine. I sighed. Jacob, there is something I want to say to you." From behind him, I heard several large heartbeats. I prepared to defend myself. "It's all right. It's just the rest of the pack." I scoffed. "Right. All of them just want to see a vampire." Jacob shook his head. "Just say what you have to say." I looked around myself. I was surrounded by 4 other wolves. "I just wanted to thank you for saving me that day. I wanted to thank your friend, Paul, as well." A large gray wolf stepped forward. I snarled, "Watch it. I'll take you all on." Jacob chuckled. "That's Paul." The large wolf rolled his eyes, turned and ran into the trees, and a moment later, a tall russet man came towards me. He stood with Jacob and stared at me. "I can't believe this happened. When we found you, we smelled the vampire." My eyes widened. "A vampire caused my accident?" Jacob nodded. "A vampire was hunting you for revenge." I gasped. "What?" Jacob told me about the female who wanted to kill me. "Victoria." Jacob and Paul shared a glance. "You remember?" I shook my head. "No, the Cullens told me about her." Jacob snorted. "The Cullens? They're the reason the psycho was after you." My eyes widened. "What?" I looked up at him with livid eyes, as I said, "Thank you, Jacob and Paul. And to all of you for trying to protect me." Soon, Carmen and I headed back for home, after an emotional goodbye with my mother. She said anytime I wanted her, she would come out here. On the way home, Carmen kept the windows open because of the foul scent on my clothes. While she drove, I changed into another outfit that she picked up in Canada. "I'm sorry, honey, but that scent was making my gag." I shrugged. "I don't blame you." As we sped down the highway, I let my hair blow out of the window, hoping to blow more of the scent away. Soon we were home and I was anxious to see Edward. I was getting to the point that I was almost over his leaving me alone in Forks. He was trying to do the right thing. Outside the house, I heard hushed tones from inside. Carmen and I were heading inside, as Eliezer came outside. He kissed Carmen and hugged me. "I'm just going hunting." Carmen kissed him again. "I'll see you soon." Inside, I saw Rosalie. Her eyes widened as she saw me. I read the distress on her face. As I was about to ask her what was the matter, Carmen and I stepped into the living room. Before completely stepping into the room, someone grabbed my wrist and my lips were locked against someone else's. I blinked wildly, as I tried to push away from the hard vast chest I was pressed into. The massive arms held my body securely. I was not strong enough to escape. Soon, my lips were released and I saw my attacker. My eyes widened. Felix. This was the second time Bella went to visit her family. She was very excited about this visit, because she was seeing her mother again. "I will tell you everything that happens when I get back," she promised as I walked her to the car. I watched as Carmen and Bella drove off. "Edward." I turned and saw Tanya and Esme coming towards me. Esme was smiling brightly and Tanya's face was composed. "So, he does love her. I wonder if she will remember him completely." Tanya watched after the car. I wondered the same thing. I was glad that Bella was able to unlock some memories. But would her memory completely return? "Edward, our brothers want to go hunting." I shook my head. "Not today. I was interested in hunting." "Edward, you are going," Emmett bellowed and I rolled my eyes. I saw his memory of Alice telling him about my decision. Emmett, Jasper and Eliezer ran out of the house. Emmett stopped to grab my arm. "Let's go." I felt Jasper's influence and I went quietly. I was anxious to get back to the house, but I knew she would be gone for the rest of the day. After beating Emmett in several wrestling matches, I returned to the house in a better mood, without Jasper's help. We found Esme and Carlisle in the living room, talking with Katerina and Rosalie. The 4 of them were too involved in their conversation. Jasper dashed up the stairs, looking for Alice. Emmett sat with Rosalie, while Eliezer and I went to the garage. It was working fine and I meant to ask Rosalie about it. In the garage there was a row of motorcycles, one for each of them. I really don't know much about motorcycles. Eliezer sighed. "All right, I will speak to Rosalie about it." I smiled. "Here she comes now." She flashed into the garage. "What's the matter?" Eliezer explained what the problem was. "Since when do any of them ride motorcycles?" Rosalie mused to herself as she began her work. I wondered the same thing. Maybe she should look at Carmen and Isabella's bikes too. Isabella rides hers the most. I looked at him. Bella rides a motorcycle. Eliezer nodded. Yes, she was the root of our interest. My eyes widened. What? Rosalie looked up. It should work now. Try it. Eliezer mounted his bike and it revved to life. Thank you so much, Rosalie. Normally, Isabella usually fixes them. Rosalie arched an eyebrow. Oh really? She sniffed. Well, isn't Ms. Special versatile? I snarled. Leave her alone, Rosalie. She's done nothing to you. She flipped her hair and went inside. Whatever, that girl is nothing but a nuisance. Is she ever going to be out of our lives? I was reaching my limit with Rosalie. Eliezer shook his head. Why did Isabella ever do to her to make her so angry? I closed my eyes. Rosalie felt Bella was a danger to our family. Remember, she was glad that we left Bella behind. But she was upset that we had to leave our home. Eliezer nodded. I hate to say it, but she was very selfish in that regard. I couldn't agree more. I have never seen you so depressed. I sighed. I know. Being around Marcus, I can imagine you can understand what it is like to lose the one you love. Eliezer patted my shoulder. Tell her the truth, Edward. I closed my eyes. I do not want to overwhelm her. Besides, she does not completely remember me. Eliezer half smiled. She may not remember you in her mind, but I believe she remembers you in her heart. If only that were true. I believe it is. Since she's been here, I've never seen her so happy. He chuckled. Then again, I never saw you look so nervous as when she threw you on the floor. I rolled my eyes. You're really funny. He laughed more and I went inside. Jasper and Emmett were sitting at the dining room table, playing cards. Jasper looked back at us, then back to his hand of cards. Tanya and Alice came down the stairs. Alice was holding Tanya's shoulders. Kate leapt from the couch. What's the matter? Alice looked up and Jasper went to her side. What did you see, Alice? I saw her vision. Why are they coming? Alice sighed. I don't know. Tanya leaned her face into Kate's shoulder. Some members of the guard are coming. Esme gasped, as Carlyle began deliberating. What could that be about? No, we have been diligent. As always, Tanya is overreacting. We don't know why they're coming, Irina was explaining. Tanya scowled at her sister, overreacting. Excuse me for worrying about my sisters and brother. Jasper tried to calm Tanya. Rosalie remained silent in her place, tapping her foot. When are they coming, Alice? Within the hour. I do not think they are coming for any of us. More like, just stopping by. They must have had some business to deal with. Rosalie sighed. Then maybe Irina's right. They are just dropping by. Who is coming? Alice closed her eyes. Just the usual contingency. Jane, Alec, Dmitri and Felix. Irina's eyes widened. Dmitri. She groaned. No, this is going to be hell. Soon. The guard arrived. Jasper kept close to Tanya to keep her calm. As they arrived, Irina left for some time to calm herself and Kate went with her. Felix was the last to enter the house. Carlyle, Jane greeted. The guard members spoke kindly. With my family and I picked their minds for the real reasons they were here. Felix was surprisingly distracted, as was Dmitri. Irina and Kate arrived and Irina made herself smile. Dmitri. Dmitri hugged her. I have missed you. Irina laughed. Oh, I'm sure you forgot all about me. Jane glowered at them. And where is your sister, Isabella? My master has asked about her. Carlyle spoke with the members of the guard. Calming the setting. They were hurried to dispatch with a foolish newborn, which was exposing our secrets. I heard the car park in front of the house. Finally, she's here. I looked at Felix. He wanted to Bella. As Bella and Carmen came into the house, Felix stood and wrapped his arms around her and kissed her. My eyes widened in anger, as I saw his arms around her. Emmett's hand came down on my shoulder. I saw her struggling, as he finally released her. Felix. Bella's eyes were wide with shock. He smiled at her. I wanted to see you. She smiled falsely. Really? She turned and looked straight at me and Emmett. She walked over to us and took Emmett's hand, making him sit with her on the couch. What are you doing here? She listened to their reasons and she pulled Jasper down to sit on her other side. Whoa, she is very nervous. I haven't felt her like this since she first came to our house. Jasper was analyzing Bella's mood. Felix eyed her. Why is she sitting with them? Edward, calm down. You do not want to overreact. They are the guard. Jasper was right. Soon they will leave and our life will return to normal. If you'll excuse us, Alex stood, we must hunt. Tanya blinked, of course. But please, I request that you give our home a wide berth. Alec nodded, of course. We will be back. The guard drifted out of the living room and departed. No one moved as they ran from the house. Even when we could no longer hear them, still no one moved. OWW, Bella, Jasper called out. She was squeezing his hand too tightly. She hadn't moved an inch since they left. She blinked and stood, gasping. Was all she said. Tanya and Carmen were at her side. Sweetie, breathe please. Bella's eyes were wide. Irina looked at all of our faces. You two LM her down and Kate and I will get everything ready. Irina and Kate dashed off to the kitchen and Carmen and Tanya held Bella up and guided her to join their other sisters. Tanya came back. Okay, if you guys don't mind, men out. Women come with me. Tanya and Carmen had me sit in the kitchen, while they got everything ready. Irina took the bottle of blood we had and began to warm it up on stove and she got the bottles of vodka and gin. This was the Denali sisters' blood teeny. They developed this recipe half a century ago. Esme, Alice and Rosalie came into the kitchen, shadowing Tanya. I was still completely speechless. Bella, honey, Esme held my chin, but I didn't even blink. I know what she needs. Irina took my face and put the glass to my lips, just drink. I gulped the contents of the glass inside. I made a gesture with my hand asking for another. Irina gave me another glass and I gulped it down. Carmen set a large pitcher on the table and everyone sat down. Bella, are you all right? I nodded to Alice. Yay. It was just a complete shock seeing Felix. Carmen snorted. Yay, you and Irina. She had to leave the house for a while before seeing Dimitri. I saw Irina roll her eyes over her glass. Well, we weren't expecting to see them, least of all here. And it's not like I could just be away, because he would have tracked me down. I replenished Irina's, Esme's and my glasses. Rosalie put her glass down. But why did you two act like that? Like you didn't want to see them. Irina and I looked at each other. We didn't. We thought we left them in Volterra. Now Irina was done with Dimitri and I just wanted to get away from Felix. Irina had Dimitri and Felix wanted more from me, but I didn't want to do that with him. So, for the most part, I teased him. Rosalie scoffed. Well, you see how well that worked. Rose, Tanya and Esme scolded and I glared at her. That's it. I need tequila and shot glasses. I got more blood and mixed it with the tequila. I threw the shot glasses over my shoulder. Sitting back down, Carmen was lining up the glasses. Alice looked at me and my sisters. Do you do this often? We looked at each other. Not really. But when we do, Eliezer steers clear. Tanya and Rosalie took the first shots. Esme looked at me. Dear, why don't you just tell Felix that you're not interested in him? I groaned. I've tried, but he won't take no for an answer. Alice nodded. I've heard that. Like many men, he's hard-headed. Thank you. I gushed. Like most men, he thinks no means yes, and get lost means take me, I'm yours. I really can't deal with this. Least of all today. Kate filled my glass. Look, they won't be here long. In a few days, our lives will go back to normal. Matter of fact, after they leave, we'll take a vacation. She giggled. Now, I want to talk about the livid look on Edward's face when Felix kissed you. I slammed my glass down, while everyone, but Esme and Tanya laughed. Not funny, I spoke through my teeth. Alice giggled. It kind of was funny. Edward was so mad. I pursed my lips. Leave him alone. Rosalie smiled. Well, this will be interesting. Edward's really never had competition before. I rolled my eyes and had a shot. There is no competition. For the next few hours, this topic was discussed, among other things. We laughed, we drank, until all of us were feeling better. Alice stared off. The guard are heading back. My eyes widened. Relax, Bella. I'm calling Carlisle to come back. They'll be here before the guard. I sighed and gulped down my last glass. Irina and I prepared another pitcher. We need to go hunt for more. Tanya looked up. Already? Irina smiled. It was an emergency. Drinking the new pitcher, Carlisle and the others arrived. I'm the best. No one can beat me, Emmett was boasting. Rosalie rolled her eyes and went to see him. What did you win at this time? Rose, what are you drinking? The others came into the kitchen. You're still drinking? Eleazar asked. I took up my glass. As Edward came in with Emmett and Rosalie. Do you feel better? I widened my eyes and finished my glass. Now I do. Rosalie rolled her eyes. Great, now she's an alcoholic. Edward and I glared at her. I put my hand on his chest and nodded my head. I threw my glass close so to Rosalie's head, that some of her hair flew up. She looked back at us. I looked back at her with an irritated look. She exhaled deeply. Nice shot. My smile was smug. What are you talking about? It missed. Edward took my hand. Isabella, clean that up. I looked back. All right, Tanya. I flashed around everyone, picked up the shards of glass, threw them away and walked out with Edward. To my surprise, he was smiling as we reached the living room. You still have a temper. I arched an eyebrow. Yay, and maybe it's gotten worse. I looked up at him. I just don't like to be taunted, especially when I'm in a bad mood. He smiled a crooked smile. Yay, and now, you have the ability to do something about it. I smiled as I went to stand by the mantel. I really don't want to deal with this. Edward placed his hands on my shoulders. Bella, please, it will be fine. I rolled my eyes and looked back up at him. He looked at me and smiled. Now, how was your visit with your parents? I smiled. As I went into my day. Alice came in. Here they come. There was a knock on the front door and Alice went to answer. Jane. I made a face. Wonderful. Ms. Personality. I whispered. Edward looked at me. Sorry, I mouthed. I felt Jane trying to attack me. I shook my head. Alec, she's trying again. I looked back and Alec put a hand on his sister's shoulder. Jane. Edward looked at them. His body suddenly stiffened. I looked over my other shoulder. Felix was looking at me and Edward on the couch. Is something wrong, Felix? He shook his head. No. I smiled. I was just telling Edward about my visit with my parents. Felix looked at me and Dimitri looked back at me. You found your parents. I smiled. Come to find out, I knew the Cullens when I was human. Felix and Dimitri looked at Edward. You did. Edward's face was stone. Yes, we did, but we had to leave. We were living in one place for too long. I looked at Edward and he looked at me, and, yes, Bella did know our secret. I closed my eyes, then looked at Felix and Dimitri. Dimitri was staring at Edward. You exposed our secret to a human. I glared at them. It's moot now. I share the same secret. Dimitri leaned forward. But what if you exposed the secret after left? I doubt it. Alice was my saint friend and I would not have betrayed her. It was better to not mention my relationship with Edward, at least not right now. Edward told them what they knew about me and I told them about my visits with my parents. I left out the part about the wolves. Felix, Dimitri and Alec would have hunted them down, as a challenge. I owed the wolves that much. I told them about my parents, my accident and the life I had. Carlisle and Esme told them some more information about my relationship with their family. Tanya offered rooms to the members. I'll be right back, Edward told me as he went to his room. I sat in the living room, still trying to figure out this entire situation. Isabella. Yes, Felix. He looked over his shoulder, then back at me. He sat down next to me. I'm happy to hear that you found out who you were. I smiled. Me too. Also, I found my information on the missing persons list online. He brushed back my hair and I stiffened slightly. What's the matter? I half smiled. Nothing. Felix put his hand on my waist and pulled me closer to him. Felix, I looked up at him. I need to. He smiled. Look, let's not worry about anything right now. I'm just glad to see you. Volterra has been so dreary without you. I choked out a laugh. That place was dreary before I got there. He chuckled and leaned closer to me. Before he got closer, someone came into the living room. My head snapped around. Edward. Carlisle. I jumped up from the couch. Felix stood up behind me. Sorry. He took my hand. I just wanted to be alone with Isabella for a while. My eyes widened. Carlisle saw my panicked expression. Oh. I actually needed Bella's help. I looked back at Felix. Could you give me an hour? Felix smiled down at me and my cheek. Of course. I turned back and Carlyle took my hand. When we were safely in the garage, I threw my hands around his neck. Thank you so much. Edward was quiet when I looked at him. Edward. He looked at me and I bit my lip. Son. Carlyle tried to calm Edward. I'm fine, Carlyle. Edward leaned against my motorcycle. I sighed. Carlyle, did you really need my help or was that a ruse? Carlyle's eyes were fixed on Edward and Edward's eyes were fixed on me. Actually, Edward spoke up. Eliezer was having trouble with his bike earlier, but he had Rosalie look at it. I looked at him. Blondie. Please. I went over to my brother's bike and immediately saw what the problem was. As long as you're all here, keep her out of my garage. I don't want her messing up any of these bikes. Carlyle chuckled. She's actually quite good. I looked up. Yay, on cars. Tanya told me, but anyone can do that. It takes someone of skill to maintain motorcycles. Rosalie was in the garage as I completed my sentence. Excuse me. I stepped around the bike. I'm sure you heard me. Rosalie's eyes widened. Okay, look little girl. Emmett put his arm around her. Okay, that's enough. Rosalie was beginning to snarl at me and I folded my arms. That got Edward to finally move. Emmett's right. There's no need for you to act like this. I scoffed. Look, it's not my fault she never got over the fact that you weren't attracted to her. Carlyle. Edward and Emmett looked at me with complete disbelief on their faces. Rosalie's mouth was hanging open and her eyes were wide. What? I smiled a smug smile. Honey, I've been in this family for months. I know all the secrets. Alice dashed into the garage, shadowed by Jasper and Kate. Emmett had his arms around Rosalie and Edward was standing in front of me. Edward, I told you that you should have never brought this girl into the family. She wasn't as nothing but trouble. I laughed. In other words, Kate's hand clamped down over my mouth. That's enough, is. I looked at her and nodded in defeat. I still don't want her near my bikes. Fine. Rosalie whirled and stomped into the house. Emmett looked back at me. I have never seen anyone get under her skin like that. I smiled. It's a gift. I went outside feeling much better. Bella. I stopped and Alice was in front of me. Yes, Alice. Why did you do that to her? I sighed. I had to transfer my negative energy to somebody. Right now, I feel great. Alice put her hands on her tiny hips. Now, Emmett has to deal with her. I groaned. There goes my good mood. I felt bad for inadvertently dragging Emmett into this. Don't worry, Alice. I'll make it up to him. I would make it up to Emmett, but for Rosalie, she would be a problem. I went back into the living room, where Dimitri and Irina were talking. They looked up when I came in. Isabella. I smiled. Hi, Dimitri. Rena. Felix came into the room, looking at me. There you are. I sighed. Wow, I was just about to ask about you. He crossed the room, held my waist and walked us back outside. Before I could open my mouth to speak, he took me up in his arms and ran into the night with me. Soon, he put me down. Sorry, I just wanted you alone. I sighed. That's sweet. He smiled. Why don't you come back to Volterra with me? Arrow would be thrilled to see you. I shook my head, so he could ask me to join his guard again. Felix held me closer. You would be amazing if you joined us. But it's not something I'm interested in. Isabella, you don't have to join then, but I would like you to come back with me. I bit my lip. I appreciate the invitation, but... He sighed. But you don't want to be away from your sisters. I nodded. Exactly. He smiled. I just missing hearing you laugh and making Jane angry. I smiled. I miss that too. But since she's here, I could pick up that habit. You know, if you two didn't have your abilities, you may get along. I stepped away from him. Please. Jane and I are from two completely different worlds. Mine's Earth. He laughed out loud. Besides, she wants to be Arrow's little pet, so I won't fight here for that title. From behind, Felix buried his face in my hair. I closed my eyes tightly and folded my arms. As he held my waist, I felt him press his lips against my head. I felt his hand graze along my torso. His lips moved down along my neck. Felix. He groaned. I'm sorry. I know you're not interested in any of this. I nodded. Right. I needed to distract him, before any of this went too far. Hey, I got an idea. I might have gotten on Emmett's bad side and I want to make it up to him. So, go back to the house. And get Dimitri and Alec. He held my cheek and kissed me. I will. When I couldn't hear him anymore, I groaned loudly. I went back to the house and looked for Emmett. Mercifully, he was alone in the garage. Emmett. He looked up and smiled. Hey Bella. I leaned closer to him. Look, I'm sorry for the fight Rosalie and I had. I didn't mean to get you in the middle of it. He shrugged. Rose is fine. You are one of the few people who gets under her skin, but I'm the only one who can calm her down. I grimaced. I still want to make it up to you. He looked at me. You're going to apologize to her. No, I was thinking about something else. I whispered to him what I want to do. What about Edward? I smiled. I'll take care of Edward. He looked at me. I bet you will. I glared at him. Anyway, just get everyone. I walked into living room, where Jasper, Emmett, Dimitri and Felix were sitting around a large round table. What are you guys playing? Poker, Dimitri answered. Oh, Edward came into the room. Have fun. I grabbed his wrist. Can we play? Jasper looked up. Edward's ability keeps him out of the game. I smiled. Well, I'll oop my shield over him and he won't hear a thing. I expanded my shield. Can you hear them? He looked down at me. No. I smiled. Great. Jasper made a face. I don't know, Bella, I mean we've played this game for some time now. I patted. Don't worry, I'm a fast learner. Jasper was still on the defense. I have $5,000. Sit down. They spoke unanimously. Wait a minute, she's never played before, Edward began to protest. Sit down. I pulled him down in the seat next to me. Everyone was dealt a hand and I had a nothing. It was time for me to have some fun. Jasper. Yes. I smiled. If all you cards have the same symbol on them, that's good, right? He nodded. Yes. I tried to stifle a giggle. Edward. Yes Bella. If all the cards are in sequential order, that's good too. Yes it is. Dimitri. What? He asked in exasperation. Calm down. If all the cards read a jack, ace, king, 10 and queen, that's good too. Everyone slammed their cards down. So that is good. Well, great because I didn't have any of that. I laughed out loud, collecting my winnings. Emmett shook his head as he gave everyone their next hands. I smiled brightly. I've always wanted to say this, but I'm all in. Felix patted my hand. Isabella, you don't want to do that. It's okay. Everyone showed their hands. Quads bust. You're dead before the turn. Dimitri furrowed his eyebrows. What? Jasper looked up. Don't ask me. I was dead before the turn. I offered to shuffle, making the boys even more nervous. After playing for another hour, Eliezer and Carmen came home. Hi-oh. I looked back at Carmen. What? Eliezer. I pursed my lips and narrowed my eyes. You're playing poker with Isabella. Have you lost your minds? I cashed in and was counting our money. You could have warned us earlier. Jasper groaned. I giggled. Don't worry. You can try again tomorrow. Emmett got up and followed me, while I lifted my shield from Edward. His head snapped up. I can't believe you two. Emmett and I looked back. Emmett grabbed my wrist and pulled me upstairs. Here's your money back and half the winnings. I handed him over $20,000. He laughed. We should go to Vegas. You could clean them out. My eyes widened. Well, not at MGM Grand. I was banned from there. Broke the bank. Emmett took me up in a large hug. When can we go? Go where? Our heads turned and there was Rosalie, with Carlisle. Emmett led me down. Vegas. Bella's pretty good at card games. Rosalie glared at me. Right. She walked off. Rose. I'm sorry. He looked down at me. Don't be. I told you, I can calm her down. I smiled. Jasper could. Ha. He mock punched me in the shoulder and went after Rosalie. I went to my room, putting on my stereo. I put my winnings away in my closet and changing my clothes. Taking off my blouse, I walked over to my bed. Felix. He was smiling at me, as I was standing in front of him, with just a bra on. Don't you know how to knock? He shrugged. Not really. I dashed back into my closet to put a top on. This isn't Volterra. You can't just go anywhere you like. He stared at me. I'm sorry. I was standing by the edge of my bed, picking up my stereo remote. I looked back and his arms were around me and we fell on the bed. He kissed me again. I put my hands on his chest. trying to push him away. But he took my wrists and held them above my head. I bit down on his lip and he pulled back. I'm sorry, but there is something I need to tell you. He rolled his eyes. Let me guess, you like Edward. How did you know? He scoffed. I noticed it from the moment I got here. He's always upset when I'm near you and you acted like you're cheating on him when we were in the living room. I sighed. Okay, now you know. He smiled and shook his head. I don't care. Isabella, I want you. I blinked. Felix, I'm in a very difficult point in my life. I'm just finding out who I was and the fact that Edward and I were in a relationship. A relationship that he backed out of. Why did he do that? Because he thought he was putting me in too much danger by having a relationship with a human. A human so exposed to our world, that's not a good thing. That's why Edward had to leave. Felix took my hands in his. Isabella, he could have changed you, but he didn't. Don't you think there's something wrong with that? Because of I didn't want Felix to know about the wolves, an agreement the family had. They wouldn't change another human, unless they had no other choice. So unless I was dying, they saw no reason to change me. Felix's eyes narrowed, except having us find out about it. This was becoming difficult. Well, like I said, it doesn't matter anymore. What's the point? I'm a vampire now. Regardless, he walked away. Why pursue something that wasn't meant to be? Edward is your past. Felix cupped my chin. I'm your future. Bit my lip. Felix, I don't know if. He leaned closer to me. Isabella, please don't count me out yet. He pressed his lips to mine. His hand held the back of my head, holding me closer until we fell onto the bed. I sat alone on the top of the fir tree, thinking. I thought about what Felix said to me. Okay, doll face. What's with you? Kate sat next to me. I didn't look at her and she nudged me. Belle. I looked at her from the corner of my eye and she shrugged. Carmen said your dad calls you that. I barely smiled. Kate took my hand. Let's go. What? Come on. Kate tugged at my arm. I pulled back and she squeezed back 5. OWW, okay. Kate and I leapt from the tree and headed west. As we ran, I heard Tanya, Irina and Carmen behind us, catching up. Kate stopped when we were at the water's edge. We stared out to the Gulf of Alaska. The 5 of us hunted in the wilderness park and sat together. All right, are you ready to talk? Irina asked. I sighed. I don't know anymore. I am beyond confused. Tanya looked at me. As far as what? I groaned. Everything. I mean, honestly, before the Cullens arrived I was content with my life. Content. Yes, Irina patted my knee, but what about being happy? My eyes widened. I was happy. I had my sisters and brother, we have our business. Which we've neglected and I had learned to let go. Now that's not completely true, Carmen interjected. If you had truly let go, you wouldn't have been so interested in seeing your parents, your home. I closed my eyes and my head fell into my hands. I felt my sisters hugging me. My face leaned into Kate's shoulder. All right, this is what you're going to do. Kate held me at arm's length. You are going to find out everything about your past, down to when you first started crawling. And if we have to watch embarrassing videos of you, so be it. All of us laughed. Second, you're going to tell us what is really troubling you. I blinked. Kate scowled at me. There's something else. Carmen told us what Felix told you. I huffed. You're right. That is definitely on my mind. Irina tangled her fingers in my hair. Well, he said. I bit down on my lip. Well, Carmen groaned. He told us that Edward was her past and he is her future. But clearly, she's not completely convinced about that fact. I shook my head. Thank you, Alice. Carmen shrugged. Hey, we don't beat around the bush in this family. I rolled my eyes. Fine, I spoke through gritted teeth. She's right though. I'm really torn on that part. I mean, I hate to admit it, but Felix had a point. I mean Edward did leave and what is going to keep him from leaving again? Yes, I know he left. Because he thought he was doing the right thing, but what if he does that again? Tanya looked at me, because we know Edward and we know what it was like for him being without you. You know they me here after they left Washington and Alice told you about some of things he went through, but you don't know the whole story. Tanya looked at all her faces, then back to me. When Edward arrived here, he was a shadow. He sat in his car for more than an hour, but none of us went to get him, because needed some time to himself. When he came inside, you could see the toll it took on him. His face was sallow and drawn. He was beyond broken up. The only response anyone got out of him was when he threatened Rosalie. Seeing the look in his eyes when she spoke about you, it scared me. If no one stopped him, he was going to rip her apart. Not just because of what she said, but just so he could get out his frustration and pain. Soon he left altogether, but Alice kept an eye on him. She said at one point she saw him sitting at the bottom of a lake. She said it was like he was literally trying to drown himself. Then he started to run. Nowhere in particular, just running so he could keep himself occupied. Soon he went to Brazil and he just lived there on the outskirts of the Amazon. I looked out to the water, then back to Tanya. I had no words. Isabella, how do you feel about Edward? Irina asked. I really do care about him. And when I remembered things about him, more feelings for him came. Irina smiled. I think that as your mind remembers, your heart is beginning to remember how much you love him. I mean, think about it. You used to hum the lullaby he wrote for you before the Cullens even got here. I think you should be with Edward. He loves you and you love him too. I was going to protest. But she held up her hand. I know you're worried that he may leave again, but if you open your heart, he will stay with you. Also, I don't believe he stopped loving you. As vampires, when a change comes for us, it's permanent. Edward couldn't stop loving you if he tried and neither can you. And, if you recall how he kissed you when they first arrived. We saw how you responded to him, before you even knew how he was. You may not have recognized him, but your heart did. Kate nodded. Oh, I agree with that. Kate looked at me. Stop being hard-headed, let Felix down gently and get back to your relationship with Edward. Tanya combed through my hair with her fingers and she laughed. Edward did say you were the most pig-headed human he's ever met, but did you have to bring it to this life? I glowered at her and she laughed and hugged my shoulders. Irina stood up and took my hands, pulling me up. Look, it's my fault. I pushed you to flirt with Felix and you were too good at it. But don't give in to him. Heidi told us in Volterra. Like most men, when Felix gets what he wants, he'll move on. So, you and I will let them know the truth and we can get back to our lives. I leaned my head against Irina's and she hugged my waist. Carmen, Kate and Tanya stood up and hugged us. The five of us walked along the beach holding hands, talking, and soon we ran home. At home, Jane and Alec were in the living room, talking as I entered. Alec smiled, but Jane just looked at me. I rolled my eyes and went to get my fabric samples out of the china cabinet. The twins were so quiet sometimes I forgot they were even here. She only takes advantage of him. I have no idea what Dimitri and Felix sees in them. I smiled. What they see in us are two fun-looking and free-spirited women. Something you clearly know nothing about. I looked back at her and she was glaring at me. I scoffed. Janie, honey, don't bother. You know your power doesn't work on me. But then again, if it did, you wouldn't be such a bitch towards me. Her eyes widened. What did you just say to me? Jane stood up, her eyes still wide and fixed on me. Alex stood as well, putting his hand on her shoulder. I stepped forward. I called you a bitch. Got a problem with that? Jane bared her teeth at me. You insolent child. I scoffed. Hold it. I don't know what child you think you're looking at, but then again, that's just because you're over 200 years old. But in this house, you don't have to like me, but you will respect me. I don't have to. You are nothing. Right then, Edward and Jasper entered the room, followed by Felix and Dimitri. Oh please, just because you're Arrow's little pet, you think that makes you something. Please, we all know when he finds someone with an even more exceptional power, you'd be kicked off the pedestal really quick. I smirked. Come to think of it, if I took his offer to join his guard, you would be forgotten. Jane's entire frame began to vibrate. My master would never want you. My smile widened. Wanna bet? I could go to Volterra right now and we could find out. Jane screamed and tried to lunge at me, but Alec had his arms around her. I motioned to lunge at her, but Edward and Jasper were holding my arms. Dimitri went to restrain Jane, who was fighting to get out of her brother's hold, and Felix stood between us, cutting off my sights of Jane. Let me go, Edward. She has this coming. Alec, release me. Edward got his arms around my waist and Jasper tried to calm me, as they pulled me outside the French doors. I still fought against them. Until Emmett threw me over his shoulder and the three of them carried me off into the night. I could fight against Edward and Jasper, but Emmett was a bit more difficult. Emmett finally stopped. Are you calm yet? Yes, I answered in a stern voice. Jasper looked at me. No, she's not. She still wants to fight Jane. I mouthed shut up at Jasper. Emmett flung me off his shoulder and pinned my shoulders to the ground. Get off me, Em. I was looking up at his upside-down face and he just laughed. Is this all the strength you have? Not very impressive. My eyes narrowed and I threw my legs in the air and caught his head in a vice. He tugged at me until I released him, flipped into the air and landed on my feet, not before I kicked him in the chest. He snarled at me and Jasper stopped him before he got mad. I rolled my eyes and started to walk away. Edward stood in front of me. Bella, what happened? I sighed. Jane just needed to hear the truth and she couldn't take it. He stared into my eyes. Then why'd you call her a bitch? Emmett and Jasper stared at me with shocked expressions. Because that's what she is. He laughed. She's never been called that. Maybe not verbally. Emmett's arm came around my neck. So you got on Jane's bad side. I elbowed him in the ribs. Yes, that's it. She was wondering what Felix and Dimitri saw in Irina and me. I told her they saw some thing in us that she clearly knew nothing about. I spun out of his hold and stood by Edward. Edward's eyes widened. I cannot believe you said that. No one has ever spoken to Jane that way. I smirked, because they feared her ability. But with me, I refused to hold back. Emmett punched me in the back of my shoulder. I have to admit, you put up on hell of a fight. You always had a temper, but now, you can really back it up. I looked back at him and smiled. Thanks. I swiftly grabbed his arm, twisted it and he was thrown onto the ground. Jasper laughed out loud. That never gets old. Ward held my waist and I rested my head on his chest. I really wonder how Jane would fare in a fight. Jasper speculated. Her ability has always made her untouchable, but with Bella, Emmett smiled, Jane wouldn't stand a chance. Not necessarily. All of us turned around. Jane has some formidable fighting abilities. I rolled my eyes. Fine, but Felix, when was the last time she used them? Ward refused to take his arm off me and Felix noticed. I could feel the tension rising between them. Jane has been with us for centuries, but Arrow still had her trained in hand-to-hand combat, in the chance she may need it. Arrow is many things, but he is not a fool. Edward's arm suddenly stiffened. Jane contacted Arrow. Felix's eyebrow furrowed. Yes. I looked up at Edward, then to Felix. Well. Felix looked back at me. We have to return to Volterra by the end of the week. Jane and Alec are preparing to leave tonight. This news brightened my entire outlook. Felix was leaving and I could have more time with Edward. Felix looked behind us, then back to me. I'm sorry, but I need to go hunting. He nodded to Edward, Emmett and Jasper and began to walk away. By the way, Isabella, I have no intention on returning to Volterra. He dashed off and my eyes widened. Damn it, my life was officially a three-ring circle, in the 7th level of hell. I became a statue. Bella. Someone called my name. I didn't even blink. Bella. Edward grabbed my shoulders and made me face him. I blinked slowly. Why me? Was all I could say. Because things like this happen to you all the time, Emmett interjected. Edward. Jasper and I scowled at him. This is so not the time, I spat. We'll leave you two alone. Jasper offered. He elbowed Emmett in the ribs. Let's go. Jasper and Emmett left, leaving me to crumble in front of Edward. Bella. It'll be fine. I looked at him. How? It won't be fine. You know as well as I do Felix will not give up. I groaned. He reminds me of Jacob. Jacob just kept pushing for more of a relationship. Edward stared at me. What do you mean? Well, he was persistent in what he wanted. He put Mike Newton to shame. I closed my eyes. Edward. Yes. I looked up at him. Who the hell is Mike Newton? I chuckled. He was one of the boys in our school who really liked you. I nodded. That makes sense. I remember when the three of us went to the movies. The movie was awful, but both of them kept their hands on the armrest, hoping I would take one of them. I felt like a poor animal being cornered. Edward put his hand under my chin. Y60, you remember that? I nodded. Yes, I know that was several months after something terrible happened to me and I was trying to recover. He sighed deeply. It must have happened after I left you. I looked at him. I still don't remember that part. I have more memories of you, but I don't remember you leaving. He half smiled. Honestly, I am glad you don't. I don't want you to remember that day. I leaned my head against his neck. Even if I do remember one day, I know I will not be mad. You were just trying to keep me safe. Edward wrapped his arms around me and his lips found mine. Being wrapped in his embrace, I felt warm. I felt a sense that we had done this before, just standing with each other, locked in our arms. He brushed my hair back and held me closer. Too soon. He broke the kiss. We should get back. I'm sure you'll want to see your friend off. I smiled. You read my mind. He smiled and kissed me again. I wish. You go ahead. I'll be right there. Edward kissed my forehead and dashed off in the direction of home. I paced the field I was in. How was I going to let Felix down gently? Men like him have large and fragile egos. He would try and get back at me, or worse, my family. Edward. I picked up the sound that someone was running through the trees. I looked back and saw a flash of red. My eyes narrowed. This was my family's territory. I ran after the flash until I caught up with it. It was a woman with long flowing red hair. She glared at me. Were you hunting in this region? She scowled at me. No, just passing through. The woman had crimson eyes and a feline face. It struck a chord of familiarity. But I put it aside. She smiled. I saw you early. He's very handsome. Thank you. I saw she was a little disheveled. We have a home nearby. Would you like to come by and clean up? Her eyes narrowed slightly. My family. We're the Denali clan. Our cousins, the Cullens, are visiting. She looked at me. I've met the Cullens. Well, then, please, come with me. I am Isabella Denali. Isabella Denali. She looked me over and smiled. I'm sorry, I thought you were someone else. You looked so familiar. I half smiled. It happens to all of us. She lowered her head. But I must decline your invitation. I was just going to meet some friends of my own. She turned away, but looked back at me. By the way, was that young man, Edward? The youngest son in the family? Yes. Her eyes widened. It's nice to see Edward find someone. Goodbye. She dashed off and I watched her. I watched as her hair blew behind her and it brought back my memories of me in the hospital. A nurse with similar red hair, standing over me. I ran back home. With this gnawing feeling. I entered the house in time to see Alec and Jane leaving. Alec held Jane's wrist as Alice came to hold mine. Carlyle was saying goodbye and he looked at us. My sister smiled, as did the Cullens. I smiled. Alec, can I talk to you for a second? He nodded and we went into the kitchen. I turned to face him. I thought I should let you know, Felix said he wasn't planning on returning to Volterra ever. Alec's eyes widened. Why not? I shrugged. He didn't say. Alec deliberated. I will inform Arrow. Thank you, Isabella. He hugged me and left. I leaned against the counter with a devious smile. I wasn't playing fair, but I had to get my life back on track. And having Felix staying here wasn't helping. I heard the twins depart. I pushed the kitchen door open to find my sisters standing there, all of them with their arms folded. I smiled. What? Tanya was shaking her head. You are an evil little girl. I scoffed. Thank you, but what are you talking about? They looked at each other, then back at me. We heard you. Felix wasn't going to go back to Volterra and you told Alec, knowing he will tell Arrow. I rolled my eyes. And, so you have no intention on telling him the truth. I held up one finger. Now, I never said that. Of course, I'm going to do the right thing and tell him. Just, me telling Alec would expedite the whole thing. Carmen scoffed. Don't give us that. We know you. I shook my head. Hey, do you think I'm that evil? Yes, they said together. I made a face. I walked past them. But Kate got ahead of me, walking into the living room. Was she like this before? Alice giggled. Nope, she was very sweet. My eyes widened as I sat on the armrest of the couch, next to Edward. I'm still nice. Irina stifled a giggle. I reached back and slapped her arm. Edward chuckled. I know you are. We smiled at each other. Bella. I looked up at Esme. So what are you going to do? I sighed. I'm going to tell Felix that there is no relationship for us and it would be best if he went back to Volterra. What? Felix and Dmitri were standing at the French doors. Felix was staring at me and I froze. Irina stared at Dmitri, biting down on her lip. Carlyle stood. We'll leave you alone. The family departed, but Alice was gawking at me. Carlyle looked back. Alice. She waved at him. Yay. See you later. Rosalie pinched Alice's ear. Oh Rosalie. Come on. Alice protested, being dragged from the room. I wanted to laugh, but looking at Felix, I didn't chance it. Dmitri looked at Irina. Is that what you had to tell me? She nodded. You're choosing him, and Felix was pointing in the direction the Cullens left. Yes, I am. Why? I looked at him, because of what you two had. I nodded, and for what he and I could have. Felix held my face, but I could give you more. I looked in his eyes. Felix, you mean that you could give me more power? I don't care about having power. He looked at me. Is that all you think? I nodded. Yes. Irina and Dmitri went outside to have their conversation. Isabella, I would and could give you more than that. I know, but you should give it to the one for you. And that's not me. He looked at me. But you think you're the one for Edward. I shrugged. I don't know. All I know is that I want to be with him. Not because of a past I can't remember, but from my heart. Felix stared into my eyes. He opened his mouth to speak, but was cut off. Isabella. I looked back to where my sister's shrieked voice called me. Kate ran into the room. Kat, what's wrong? She took my hand. Come on, Alice had a vision. Irina came back into the room. What did she see? Kate towed me to the top of the stairs. Where Emmett and Rosalie stared at me. What is it? Edward came out of Alice's bedroom with shocked eyes, fixed on my face. I went into Alice's room and found her with her eyes closed. Bella. I sat down next to her. Alice. What did you see? She looked up at me. Charlie. My eyebrows furrowed. My dad. What about him? Edward held my shoulders and I looked up at him. Bella, Victoria is going after your father. My eyes widened. Why? Why? After all this time. I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to think clearly. Jasper tried to calm me. Jasper, it won't work. My father was in danger and I couldn't do much to help him. Alice kept looking for Victoria's future, while my family and I prepared to go back to Forks. Felix and Dmitri were preparing to go back to Volterra. Anya and Esme made the arrangements for our flight. The rest of them were going to drive to Forks, but I was too impatient, so Edward and I were going to run. I tried to contact Charlie, but he wasn't answering. Alice saw that he was at work. Alice was in her room, when I heard her gasp. I ran into her room. What? She looked at me. I've seen her. She's stopping in Seattle. She is going to make newborn vampires. My eyes widened. I closed my eyes. There was one thing I could do to help my family and my dad. I stepped out of the room and ran downstairs. Felix. Dmitri. They were speaking with Tanya. What is it? Felix looked at me. I sighed. This Victoria is trying to build a newborn army. Alice just saw it. She is going to release them all over Forks. Alice was at the top of the stairs, looking at me with a bewildered expression. I looked at her. Alice, they should know. I looked back at them. Please, please, will you help us? Dmitri looked at Felix. We'll have to deliberate. They went into the living room and I went upstairs. Alice grabbed my wrist. What are you doing? I looked down the stairs. Alice, newborns are their strong point and we could use them. Alice sighed and closed her eyes. They're going to help us. I smirked. Knew it. I walked down the stairs, slowly as Felix and Dmitri entered the hall. We'll go. If she is creating newborns, this Victoria has to be punished for it. I smiled. Thank you. I went back upstairs, got my bag and everyone was on their way to the airport. On the flight to Seattle, Alice kept searching for Victoria. My knee bounced wildly. As I looked out the window, Edward placed his hand on my knee. It will be fine, Bella. I looked at him. Edward, what if we're too late? I can't live with myself knowing that. I couldn't do anything to save my father. He brushed my cheek with his fingers. Bella, we'll get to him. Victoria isn't going to do anything to him. I closed my eyes and leaned my head against his shoulder. Soon, we landed in Seattle. The sun was beginning to rise, so Esme and Tanya rushed to get the rental cars. I stood by one of the pillars, in the shadows, looking outside. My foot tapped impatiently, waiting for the others. Isabella. I closed my eyes. Yes, Felix. He stood behind me. What are you going to do about this, Victoria? I looked up and smiled. We'll handle Victoria, Emmett interjected. Felix and I looked at him. No, thanks Em. I'll handle her. Emmett hugged my shoulders. Bella, it would be better if Jasper and I did. I scoffed. Thanks, but no thanks. I lived in Volterra for almost 5 years. Trust me, I know how to kill her. Emmett stepped back and folded his arms. Who taught you? I smirked and looked back at Felix, who smiled at me. I did. Soon, Esme returned. We have to go. Alice saw Victoria is on her way to Forks. Bella, it's better if you drive. I nodded. Fine, and I took one of the car keys out of her hand. Edward and I half ran to the rental. He was going for the driver's seat. When I stopped him, you mind if I drive? He nodded. You know how to get there. I was halfway in the driver's seat. I studied a map in the airport. He got in his seat. I would buckle up if I were you, I warned him, right before I hit the accelerator. I flew out of the garage and flew down the I-5. Within 2 hours, we were in the outskirts of town. My cell phone rang and Edward answered. Yes, Alice. Victoria is nearing town. Charlie isn't home yet, but he's won his way. My body seized up and I pressed down on the accelerator so hard that my foot almost went through the bot of the car. Within 15 minutes, we were in front of my house. Not waiting for anyone, I flew into the house. I didn't detect any unfamiliar scents. The scent of the wolves lingered, but nothing out of the ordinary. Also, looking around, I listened for anyone in the house. You got anything? Tanya sprinted into the house. I shook my head. I'll still look upstairs. She dashed up the stairs. As I went outside, nothing. Tanya was by my side. No one's been in the house. I sighed. Do you think she'll go to your house? Carlyle looked at me. She might. She knows that you know us. Jasper looked at me. I'll go check. I'll go with you, Rosalie offered. So will I, Dimitri offered. The three of them ran towards the Cullens' house. Alice closed her eyes. They'll be fine. Victoria is hunting your dad. I sighed so deeply that a growl came from my lips. Get them back here and I'll head for the police station. Come on. Emmett took my hand and we drove to the police station. Why are we driving? I asked in frustration. If your dad is there, how are you going to explain you just walking there? I sighed. Fair enough. Soon, we were in front of the police station and I ran inside. Is Chief Swan here? The officer stared at me for a moment. Hello. He blinked. Sorry. He left for an emergency call. His daughter needed him. Which way did he go? I ran back outside, ignoring Emmett in the car. I ran in the direction the officer told me my father left. I knew Victoria impersonated me to get him away from the station. Bella. I ignored whoever was calling me. I cut through the forest alongside the road. Soon, I came across a damaged police cruiser. The driver's door was torn off the car. I checked the car and found my dad's jacket. My anger filled my body and my eyes saw red. I caught my dad's scent and I looked into the direction of where his scent was the strongest. Bella. Stop. I looked back. Alice, I have to. I wanted to start running. But Carlyle grabbed my wrist. We are very close to the treaty line. The wolves will kill you. I blinked. That isn't my concern right now. I tried to pull away from him, but Felix stood in my way. Felix, get out of my way. Alice held me arm. Bella, I know where she is. Your father is still alive. I blinked. For now. Let's go. We ran into the forest, following the trail. Soon, it was getting stronger. I ran between Kate and Irina. Rosalie, Jasper and Dimitri soon caught up with us. All of us silently, racing to find my father. I stopped suddenly, finding a piece of tattered clothing. It was a piece of Charlie's uniform. I looked down and found a spot of fresh blood. That was his too. Kate knelt down next to me. Alice says we're close. Let's go. My head snapped up and soon, I was running again. Almost surpassing everyone. Soon, we came across the path of a woman, maybe in her mid-20s. Her eyes were crimson. Emmett, Jasper, Felix and Dimitri stood in front of us. The woman looked at us. Yellow-eyed ones. You're the ones we have too. Felix and Dmitri proceeded to rip her apart. It was a screeching metallic sound and soon they set the remains on fire. Emmett grumbled that he couldn't have his fun, but Rosalie elbowed him and we were off again. Felix and Dmitri decided to follow the trial of the newborn, hoping to surround them. After another few miles, I heard a faint heartbeat. But it was getting louder. I recognized Charlie's heartbeat. My anxiety was peaking. We were close and we could still save him. Why are you doing this? Who are you? That was Charlie's voice. Don't worry. This will be over soon. I recognized the voice. It was the red-headed stranger I met, who claimed she knew the Cullens. The stranger's laughter trilled thrug. The trees and I stopped dead in my tracks. My eyes widened and suddenly there was nothing was beneath my feet. My head whirled and I closed my eyes, grabbing either side of my head. This pain was bewildering. It felt my brain was opening up and my mind was bombarded with hundreds of images. I groaned out loud and threw my head back. Bella. Edward kept my body from falling. Isabella. Kate sounded like she right next to me. Edward. Let me see her. I gripped at Carlyle's arm. I opened my eyes and all the images flashed past them. My mom and I walking on the pier in California when we went to visit my grandmother for Thanksgiving, my mother in her wedding dress when she was marrying Phil, seeing my dad at the Port Angeles airport when I was moving in with him, my very used, but new to me truck standing in front of my dad's house waiting for me, the silver Volvo in the school parking lot on the first day of school, the dark-eyed siblings that kept to themselves, the golden-eyed man that asked to go to Seattle with him. The deranged tracker that hunted me, my blue dress at the prom, the cursed birthday party, my depression, Jacob, Paul stalking me as a wolf and my motorcycle. Above all, I saw my car accident. Through my haze, I saw Victoria smiling as she stalked me. Her head snapped up and she ran away. I saw Jacob and Paul pulling me from the truck and taking me to the hospital. I remember lying in the hospital. When the red-headed nurse entered my room. Victoria entering my room and wearing contacts, smiling offering me her help. I saw her stealing me from the hospital and my asking where we were going. I gasped and picked my head up. Carlyle. Bella, are you all right? I blinked and nodded. I have never seen Carlyle like this before, besides for the time he was with my sisters. Bella. I looked to my other side, Edward. I stood up and looked down at my body. It was stronger, faster and more durable. I have lived in this body for years and, after waking up, it felt all new to me. I heard Charlie groan and my anger swelled. I snarled and ran past everyone, ignoring them all. I broke through the bushes and saw her leaning over Charlie. I smelled the fresh blood. Victoria. I snarled through my clenched teeth. She looked back at me and smiled. Well, you figured out who I was. Suddenly, an arm was clenched around my throat. A newborn was holding me. In my anger, I sunk my teeth into its arm and it snarled in pain. It pulled back and my teeth dripped with its still human blood. I turned and kicked the newborn and it staggered back and Emmett caught it. I looked back and looked at Charlie. I went for him, but Victoria caught me by my neck and pinned me to a tree. You're stronger than I thought. I found myself smiling. This is ironic. This was how James had Edward pinned in the ballet studio. You know, right before he died. Only real difference is that Edward actually loved me. Her eyes widened and she bared her teeth at me and tightened her hold. You're not that strong. I looked at her. I'm strong enough to kill you. I knocked her hand away and kicked her in her chest. Carlyle was already looking over my dad. He's been bitten, but we're too late. The venom has infected his system. My eyes widened and looked over my shoulder. Edward, Kate, Irina, Eleazar, Carmen, Emmett, Jasper, Felix and Dmitri were dispensing with that last of the newborns. Rosalie and Alice were fighting Victoria, until she ran off. Tanya, Carmen, Irina, take my dad home. Our home. By the time we get back, he'll be awake. Tanya looked at me. You're sure? Tanya, he's my father. Please. She nodded and my sisters took Charlie and went home to Denali. I went after Victoria. Leave her. She's mine. Dmitri, Emmett, Edward, Rosalie and Alice pulled back and I went ahead of them. Victoria stopped in her tracks. I caught the scent of one of the wolves. That stopped her. I tackled her to the ground, but she pinned me. What makes you think you can defeat me? I got out of her hold, because, even as a human, you couldn't destroy me. You tortured me for more than a month. You re-broke my leg, fractured the ribs on the left side of my body, dislocated my shoulder, fractured my skull and broke my hand. You said that you were being kind, because Edward wasn't fair to James. I asked you who Edward was, but every time I did, he hurt me more. You knew I had amnesia. So that's why you changed me. Your plan was that I would wander for eternity, not knowing who I was. You said you hoped that the Cullens would find me again and it would pain Edward to see that I didn't remember him. You tried to break me, but you failed. I'm still alive, I remember everything and you are going to die. She leaned into a crouch, but I smiled. By the way, Edward told me that when he read James's mind, he was glad to be away from the needy little girl. He only kept you around because you had a talent for getting out of bad situations. Besides that, you were just a little toy. Can you guess what his favorite game? Victoria screamed and ran towards me. Taking a step forward, I extended my arm, throwing it at her, knocking into her head. She fell backwards and flipped onto her feet. We stared each other down and I darted at her, gripping the tops of her shoulders, pinning her down. Her hand came across my face, making me look away. I looked back at her, my turn. And I punched her in the mouth. She snarled, knocking me off her. I flipped back to my feet. This time, Victoria pounced me and I spun on my foot, lifting my leg upward, knocking her in her torso. I pirouetted on my foot and she caught me around my neck, strangling me. I gasped and saw Edward and Felix making movements to help me. No, I choked out and I gripped at her wrists. I felt my strength increase slightly. It was from the blood of the newborn. Victoria staggered back onto her knees, as increased the strength of my hold. I could hear her skin cracking beneath my fingers. Victoria groaned through her clenched teeth. You know what? I released her and threw her to the ground. I'm going to be merciful. I'm going to let you live with this. I pointed at her wrists. A constant reminder that you could not destroy me, no matter how hard you tried. But, were I you, I wouldn't look for me or my family again, because I will not show mercy. Victoria looked up at me and I walked away. Besides, you aren't worth. I heard Victoria's growl building. She ran after me. I turned and saw her claw-damaged hands coming for my throat. I bent my knees and fell back. To the ground. She ran into Dimitri and Felix. No, let me go. I stood and they were making her kneel on the ground. Bella. I looked up and the Cullens were watching me. I smiled. Go home. I'll meet you there. Emmett smirked. After all that, there's no way I'm missing this. Neither am I, Edward smiled. Everyone else left and I looked back at Victoria. She struggled against their hold. That insignificant, stupid girl ruined my life. I looked back at her. No, you did. James was stupid enough to take on a large family and you followed him. You saw what it did to him, so what made you think that you were going to be successful? Felix tightened his hold on her and she groaned. Thank you, Felix. I walked up to her, just glaring. I thought back to all she put me through. The pain I felt, the tears I cried and the times I begged her to just let me die. I thought through my painful transformation as the venom put my battered body together. Then another memory came to me, the time I saw Arrow dispense with a traitor. Felix and Dimitri held them down and Arrow held the traitor's head. I did the same thing. Victoria glared at me and I smiled. You do not have the stray. My hands clamped tightly against her head, covering her mouth until her skin cracked and dust began to fall from my hands. Felix and Dimitri did their part and began pulling at her arms. With a loud crack, Victoria's head detached from her body. Felix and Dimitri each held one of her arms. Victoria's throat still attached to dismembered head and it was screaming. I looked into her eyes. I shook my head and tossed Victoria's over my shoulder. I began to walk away. You sure you don't want to keep it as a trophy? I smiled. Not funny, Dimitri. They burned the body and I leaned on a tree, folded my arms and watched. Felix looked at me. Isabella, that wasn't much of an army. I bit my lip. I may have exaggerated, but they were still there and untrained. At the Cullens' house, Felix and Dimitri departed for Volterra. After I thanked them for their help. Outside, Felix kissed my cheek. If you ever get bored with him, I smiled, you'll be the first I call. They drove away and I watched. When hell freezes over, I muttered to myself. I rolled my eyes and went inside. Carmen stood at the door, smiling at me. Tanya called. They're driving home and your dad is beginning to change. I sighed heavily and shook my head. I can't believe this happened. Esme held my shoulders. Honey, at least he'll be fine. In a few days, he'll be awake. I shook my head. Still, this isn't what I want for him. Now, I understand why Edward didn't want me to change. Rosalie and Emmett were standing together and she was looking at me. I looked up. By the way, Rosalie, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have insulted you at home. Her eyebrows furrowed. It's okay. But what the glass? I smiled. Hey, I said I missed. Carmen smiled. You rarely apologize for things you've done. What's with change of heart? I looked at her. More like a change of mind. Carmen looked at me and I smiled. Carrie, not now. Please, not now. She scoffed. Well, that didn't change. I groaned. Fine. I looked at Carlisle. What happened to me was my memory. It came back. I think it was because of Victoria. When I heard her laughing, it just brought back everything. It was like a floodgate opening and so many things came back at once. Edward took my face in his hands. You remember? I smiled. Everything, and I do mean everything. I looked away and his hands fell. I squeezed his hand and smiled reassuringly. Bella. I looked at Jasper. Yes. What caused your accident? Victoria. I was driving home and something knocked my car off the road. There was no other car on the road and nothing, besides a vampire as strong enough to knock my truck off its wheels. The truck rolled down the hill and landed on its top. Luckily, I was wearing my seatbelt, but I still hit my head pretty badly. Emmett looked away. Why was Victoria after you? Revenge against Edward, by killing me. As Laurent put it, a mate for a mate. The way she tortured me, I begged her to kill me. I shook my head. It's better you don't know about any of that. It really wasn't pretty. Carmen sighed. Do you know how you ended up in Canada? I bit my lip. Victoria took me from the hospital. That's why no one saw us. She was too fast. She threw me in the backseat of a car and stuck me with a needle. Before I knew, I was out, and when I woke up, I was in a trunk. I laughed. Being a cop's daughter, I remembered on survival technique. Take apart a taillight and hope she would get pulled over and then make a lot of noise to get the officer's attention. I didn't want to discuss this any further, because I remembered my screams of pain. I clenched my eyes shut. I need to hunt. I'll go with you, Carmen offered. She and I ran outside, into the trees to hunt. After we took down our prey, Carmen and I sat in the treetops, looking out to the mountains. Yes, care. What did she do to you? I promise, it will stay between us. I looked at her. Okay, it will, for now. I told my sister about my tortuous month, before my life ended and began, again. So, now that you remember everything and have your father, will you leave us? I looked at Carmen. Why would you think that? She sighed. You have your life back, I just thought. I sighed. No, Carmen. Absolutely not. I have my memory back and my dad, but you're still my sister. All of you took me in and have been there for me and treated me like a sister. I am not going anywhere. Carmen, you're my family. That's not going to change. She held my hand as walked back to the house. She sighed. Okay, but what about Edward? My eyes widened. We'll see. She laughed. Are you going to tease him still? It is actually fun to watch. You taking down your prey. Oh, how you have grown. I nudged her. Stop. That's none of your business. She giggled. If you say so, she trilled in a sing-song voice. She danced ahead of me and I jumped on her back. Just stay out of it, old woman. Carmen walked us into the house, both of us laughing. Eliezer was sitting with Esme, feeling better. I nodded. Yes. Jasper, Rosalie and Edward were descending the stairs. I immediately expanded my shield over Carmen, because I knew she would still be thinking about what I told her. Jasper looked at me perplexed. Are you going to head back to Denali? Looking at Carmen and Eliezer. Tomorrow. Carmen smiled. Tanya, Kate and Irina can take care of your father until then. Carmen looked at Alice. Now. You promised to show me your closet when I came over. Carmen took my hand and we went into Alice's room. Alice followed in after us as Carmen was already looking through her clothes. Honey, this would look beautiful on you. Carmen held out a dark blue satin blouse. I looked at it. This is mine. Alice giggled. You left it here before your birthday. I never got the chance to give it back to you. I took the blouse from Carmen. Thank you, Alice. I took the blouse, picking up a faint scent that was not Alice's, Jasper's or anyone else's in the house. I inhaled at the blouse, picking up a faint floral scent. I looked up at Alice and she smiled. That's your scent from when you were human. She looked in the closet, matter of fact. She went into the back of the closet, came back with a garment bag and opened it. I recognized the blue fabric and smiled. My prom dress. The floral scent was much stronger. I laughed and took it from her, sitting with Carmen, Allie. CE was bored one day and in an attempt to keep her busy, I let her use me as a dress-up doll. This was after my leg was healed. She dressed me in my prom dress again, among other things. The whole Tim. I silently begged for Edward to come home and save me. Alice gasped, "Are you serious?" Carmen and I laughed, very much so. Alice, you knew how much I hated letting you dress me. Carmen took the dress. It really is beautiful. I smiled. It is, but you should see the shoes she put me in. I swear, I thought she was trying to break my other leg. Alice grumbled, snatched the garment bag with tea. He dressed away and went back into the closet. Carmen looked to the door. Eliezer wants me. I'll be right back. She dashed out of the room and I went into the closet to calm Alice. Alice, please don't be mad at me. She looked at me. I'm not. I'm actually very relieved. You remember everything. I was starting to think that. Alice, I was remembering some things. I think over time, I would have remembered. I just think it wouldn't have been as painful as it was. Alice patted my shoulder. What was it like? I blinked. A floodgate opening. A wall finally broken down. My memories came back in flashes and even my human memories are not muddled or foggy. They are clear as my memories from the day Irina found me. I sighed, even that day when I closed my eyes. I know he thought he was doing the right thing, but I deliberated. No, I'll him this later. Alice smiled. He's in his room. Tell him now. I looked up. Okay. Alice gawked at me. You have to ask, where do you thin? Your personality came from when you didn't remember anything. I shrugged. I think part of my personality was still intact, but I think, mostly, Irina. Alice and I laughed. But I have to admit, I kinda like it. I mean, I still know when to hold back, but I don't let that go too far like I did before. Alice smiled and I looked up. Let me take care of this. I whirled out of the closet and ascended the stairs, passing Esme, Emmett and Carmen and knocked on Edward's door. He didn't answer and I rolled my eyes. I opened the door and found him halfway to the door. He looked at me and I made a face. You took too long. I remember you being much faster. He half smiled. You were never so forceful. I closed the door. My sisters and I say it's assertiveness. But if you want me to be the human Bella you left behind, he held up his hand, please Bella. I held up my hands. I'm sorry. Maybe it was easier when I didn't completely remember, but now I do. I folded my arms. I just want to ask you something and say something. He looked at me. Yes. You meant when you told me that you would never leave me again. No matter what. Yes. I walked up to him, staring him in his eyes. My eyes held a determination as he stepped back. I put my hands on his chest and pushed him down on his couch. I leaned closer to him. If you ever leave me again, I will hunt you down. I don't know how it was for you, but for me. My world shattered and no matter how hard I tried, I could not put it back together. After you left, I stopped living. I merely existed. Edward, I may be immortal now, but if you leave me, I will not survive. Edward looked at me. We stared into each other's eyes. As he was about to respond to me and pressed my lips to his. I pressed my palms to either side of his face. His hands were on my shoulders, until they moved down to my waist. He held me closer and I wrapped my arms around his neck. I pushed him back and he looked at me. One more thing. I'll hunt you down and tear you apart. And all I'll say is, have fun putting yourself back together. To my surprise, he laughed. You need to move away from your sisters, especially Kate and Irina. I scowled. Tanya will tolerate anyone taking her baby sister away. Not even you. I laughed and he held me closer. Edward kissed my hair, like he has done so many times before. Someone was coming up the stairs and the door flew open. As this finally over, Edward and I looked back to Emmett, with Alice half hidden behind him. I looked up at Edward and he looked at me. I pursed my lips and got up. I turned, Ed to face Emmett and Alice stepped away from him. I snarled and caught Emmett around the waist, knocking him down. Edward, she's cheating. I caught him in a headlock. Oh no, I've been holding this in since I was human. Isabella, Carmen scolded. I looked up. Oh Carmen, come on. She looked at me and I groaned, pushing Emmett to the floor. Oh sure, listen to your sister. I whirled around and my eyes widened. Jasper held me back. You are so lucky Jasper's here. Jasper towed me downstairs. You have a temper worse than a newborn. He sat me on the couch next to Eliezer. You see it too. I looked at Eliezer. You're just happy that there's another man around to help you insult me. He hugged me, pretty much. I smacked his chest. Oh, get off me. From up the stairs, there was a loud tumult. That's what you get for barging in. Edward came downstairs, with Emmett, who was rubbing his neck. Emmett looked at me, but Edward held up one finger. I said leave her alone. You had it coming to you. Edward took my hand and sat with me. Emmett grumbled to himself. Girl always had a temper. I looked after Emmett from the corner of my eye, but Edward squeezed my hand. He's just upset that you took him by surprise like that. Soon, we were on our way back to Denali. I was anxious to see my father. I knew he would have hundreds of questions. This was truly going to be the most difficult thing I will ever have to do. I felt that I was more anxious now than I was when I was on my way to save him from Victoria. I called Tanya before I boarded the plane. Charlie had woken up. Victoria must have bitten him in more than one place, so more venom was in his body. She took him hunting, but he was waiting for me. I bit down on my lip on the drive home. Bella, stop. Edward tried to soothe me, but to no avail. It didn't work. I would have to tell Charlie the entire truth. I would leave out some details, like Edward spending nights in my room, but he would need to know. Carlisle was generous enough to stay with me while I spoke with Charlie. Kate was outside, just getting off her motorcycle as we arrived. Isabella, she hugged me. Are you feeling better? I smiled. Yes. How's my dad? He's inside and dying to talk to you. I groaned. This is going to be hell. Kate took my hand. Honey, I've been to hell. Trust me, this isn't it. I nodded. Yay, hell was when we messed up Tanya's car and couldn't fix it. Kate groaned mockingly. Exactly. Inside, there was nothing out of the ordinary. Dad, I looked in the living room. Edward came behind me. I think he's upstairs. I sighed. Might as well get this over with. I went upstairs. Dad. I knocked on his room door. Dad, it's me, Bella. The room was silent. I opened the door to check the room. Looking around the dark room, my eyes widened. Quote. I ran down the stairs in complete shock. Edward held my shoulders. What's wrong? I couldn't speak. Bella, what happened? Jasper asked. She's in complete shock. Edward took me up in his arms and sat with me in the living room. I shook my head. Edward, if you love me, you'll blind me. His eyebrows furrowed. Bella, what happened? Ignore her. She's being melodramatic. Tanya stood at the bottom of the stairs. I stood, melodramatic. Please, I just saw my dad making out with my sister. Everyone in the room became statues, all of them staring at Tanya. Bells. Charlie came down the stairs. As a vampire, his hair was fuller, the slight creases in his face were gone and his eyes were crimson. He was like the man in my parents' wedding pictures. Please do not be mad at Tanya. I held my head. I don't think I can take this. I ran my fingers through my hair. This truly has been the most emotional month of my life. Kate sat down with me. Okay, let's calm down. I sighed. Calm down, right. My dad stood my Tanya, holding her hand, and I closed my eyes. I loved my sister and my dad. I would not deny them anything, but this was too much. I got up and went for the French doors. Isabella. I looked back. Leave me alone, Tanya. Please, just leave me alone. This really is. I looked at him. Emmett, now is so not the time. My voice broke on the last word. I stepped outside and leaned against the glass. Just give her some time. That's all she needs, Charlie explained. Someone dashed out of the room and came to stand beside me. Come on, it was Rosalie. I looked her. Just come on. You need to get out of here for a while. Rosalie and I walked silently in the field behind the house. How are you doing? I smiled. Let's recap. I was attacked by Victoria, causing my amnesia. Then I was tortured and changed into a vampire. I was taken in by my sisters, making all of you my cousins. So, now, I'm dating my cousin and I just saw my sister kissing my father. Rosalie laughed. Okay, stupid question. Next one. Do think you can live this? Of course I can. I love them both and maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. You and I know how Tanya is. Which doesn't make things better. I groaned and Rosalie sighed. Look, being in this family is not easy, as you well know. But, you get more out of it, again as you know. It's up to you on how you handle it. Also, I owe you an apology as well. I looked at her. I treated you pretty badly. Believe me, when I found out what happened to you, that was something I never wanted to happen to you. I know, Rosalie, but let's be honest, I got under your skin pretty good. She smiled. Yes you did, Ms. It takes real intelligence to fix motorcycles. I laughed. Sorry about that. Fine, you two made up. Now what about Tanya? Irina asked from behind us. I looked back at Irina and she folded her arms. Don't you have anything to say to Tanya? I smiled. Yay, where's Buffy when you need her? Irina scoffed and Rosalie laughed. Isabella, come on. No. Irina rolled her eyes. Fine. Just to give you a heads up, Carlisle and Edward are talking to your dad about what happened. I groaned. Fine. Give me a few minutes. And keep Tanya away from me. Irina held her hands up. Fair enough, and she ran off to the house. Rosalie tapped her foot. Do you really want to go back? No, but I should. Let's go. Rosalie went back to the house. I walked back into the living room and my dad had his arm over Tanya's shoulder. I felt like I was going to gag, but I faked a half smile. Edward took my hands. Are you all right? I gritted my teeth. Do I look all right? I leaned my head against his chest. Edward was the one person who truly calmed me, even after all this time. My dog. Dee was eyeing Edward suspiciously and Edward sighed. Yes Charlie, Bella and I resumed our relationship. My dad's eyes widened. How did you know? Tanya smiled. Edward's a mind reader. He could hear everyone's thoughts around him. I smiled. Everyone's except mine's. Charlie looked at me. Why is that? I shrugged. No idea, but that's one of the things that got him to notice me. Edward leaned his face into my hair. That and the way her blood appealed to me. I giggled. My blood was so potent to him, but he didn't want to kill me, because of his family's lifestyle. He nodded. Yes, drive. Cullen explained it to me. None of you hunt people. Charlie's eyes fell on me. Have you? I've never tasted human blood. I sat down with my dad. I think now is the time to tell you the complete truth, Dad. Everything. From when Edward and I first met. Everyone, but Tanya, Carlisle, Esme and Edward departed as I began the story of mine and Edward's relationship. My dad listened intently. On how Edward really saved me from being killed by Tyler's truck, why I ran away to Arizona to my birthday party. My dad listened to Edward's explanation on why he left. That's why. You wanted to keep her from this. Edward nodded. And it was the worst mistake of my life. Tanya sighed. It was awful, Charlie. Edward was. Well, he wasn't the same. Tanya explained about the Cullens' stay after tea. Hay left Forks and Edward talked about what he did for the years he was gone. Charlie looked at me. Isabella, what have you done for the years you were gone? My eyes widened. I would need to edit out some of the things I did. Because not even Edward knew it all. I explained about the Volturi, which led into the decisions about our laws and Irina's and my return to Denali. My dad asked to speak to Irina. He thanked her for helping me and helping me find a family. While Charlie spoke with my family, I wanted to speak with Tanya. We sat on the roof and I asked what happened while we were still in Washington. I can't explain it, is. The way he looked at me when he first woke up. I mean, think about, the first time you saw Edward, didn't something just click for you? Yeah, I noticed him right away. But I was more focused on the horrifying look he was giving me. She smiled. Oh yeah, he told me about that. He wanted to kill you right then and there. I rolled my eyes. Yep, he's a total romantic. I sighed. Okay. I'm going to ask about this once, then never ever again, but explain what I saw when I walked in the room. She smiled. Literally, he and I got carried away. I was telling him about how much you have become like a sister to me. He was thanking me and one thing led to another. I held up my hand. Okay, thank you. Really? Don't need another visual. She giggled. Isabella, please believe me, I never thought something like this would happen. I know it seems like our family is completely dysfunctional, but I do care about your father and not like another conquest. I looked at her. If I ever thought you did, well, you'd lose all that pretty hair. She smiled. I know. But if you don't want me with him, then I won't be. I love you and I would never do anything to hurt you. I hugged her. No, I would never deny you this, especially not this. You deserve it, Tanya. But if you ever hurt him. She pushed me away and we laughed. Tanya leapt from the roof and I laid down on it, with my hands covering my face. Things were falling into place and becoming complicated at the same time. I sprang to my feet to see I wasn't alone. Edward was leaning against the chimney, smiling at me. I closed my eyes and shook my head. Please, no jokes. He held up his hands and shook his head. I walked up to him and wrapped my arms around his waist. I looked up at him. But I do owe you an apology. For what? I bit my lip, for when I threw you on the floor. But then again, you kissed me and I didn't know who you were. He smiled. No, you were right to do that. Even after what Tanya told us, I shouldn't have done that. But I have to admit, it was worth it just to have you in my arms again. I smiled. That and I'm sure you have never had a woman manhandle you like that. He chuckled. Not at all. I smiled coyly. If you want, I can do it again. Edward pressed his lips to mine, lifting my feet from the roof. Bella. I opened my eyes and groaned, living with my dad again. With my boyfriend in the house. This is going to be hell. Look, just make sure your dress is ready. This day is stressful enough as it is, I instructed, leaving Carmen and Kate in the room. Today has been coming for some time now and I have waited for it since I had my vision. Everything must be perfect. I went into my room, where Esme was putting the final touches on the veil. Oh my gosh, you look so beautiful. Yes, she does, but I feel sorry for her. Her maid of honor looks better than she does. I scowled at her. Bella, would you stop? She smiled. Sorry Alice. Tanya, you look amazing. But let me say this, I will never call you, Mom. Tanya looked back at me, finally. Maybe I should have married your father a long time ago. Bella put down her hairbrush and muttered angrily as she left the room. Don't worry, Tanya, she's coming around. Tanya smiled at Esme. Oh I know, but I still love to push her buttons. Esme put her hands on her hips. You really shouldn't vex your daughter. Tanya groaned, as isn't my daughter. She's my sister. She's your daughter. Esme smiled. Oh yes she is. She has really completed our family. Edward has never been happier. I suddenly saw Bella in a simple white gown with satin gloves up to her elbows walking down the aisle, holding her father's arm. She smiled sweetly as she said, I do, to my brother, truly becoming my sister. As she was meant to be. I smiled to myself, I'll see you downstairs. Tanya, 3 minutes. I flashed down the stairs and ran into Charlie and Carlisle. Charlie, you look wonderful. He smiled, thanks hun. Is she almost ready? Yes. I was just looking for Edward. I closed my eyes and saw him in the backyard with Bella. I found him. I found Edward and Bella in each other's embrace. Would you two stop it? You have to save something for your honeymoon. Bella's ring glistened in the lights of the lamps. Leave us alone, Alice. Don't you have something you need to organize? I scowled. As a matter of fact, and I grabbed her arm. The bride is ready and she needs her maid of honor. Bella groaned. Fine. I towed her inside as she walked backwards, looking seductively at Edward. Bella, are you sure you're still a virgin? That stopped her, Alice. I smiled. Just wanted to get your attention. Charlie and Carlisle went outside and Tanya and Esme came downstairs. Everyone was already in their places for the ceremony. Tanya only had Bella as a bridesmaid and Carlisle was the best man. Eliezer and Rosalie played their musical duet as the procession started and Tanya married Charlie, becoming the new Mrs. Swan. "I can't believe my dad got married before I did," Bella complained and Irina nudged her. "Tanya deserves this." Bella smiled. "I never said she didn't. She deserves this more than anyone." The reception lasted all night. I looked for Kate and Irina's futures and saw what was coming. A traveler named Garrett was coming and his new companion, Anthony, were coming soon and they would be staying here. Garrett would be intrigued by Kate and Anthony will fall in love with Irina. Irina will be hesitant, but soon she will open her heart. It was funny how the Swan family blended into ours. Bella completed our family and Charlie began the completion of Tanya's. Seeing how Bella fell back into our lives proven she was meant for this life and to be a part of our family. I would have gladly killed Edward for leaving her, but doing that did it for me. Edward was dead for those years. Watching him wander on his own was painful. He asked how I did not see what happened to Bella and we deduced that it was due to her life becoming so involved with the Quileute wolves. "Alice, I saw your vision. She looked beautiful." I rolled my eyes. "Now I have to find a different dress for her and I'll have to watching what I'm thinking about around you. You are going to be just as surprised as Bella is on your wedding day." Edward and I danced, while Bella danced with her father. The both of them became more coordinated in this life. Bella smiled angelically at Edward and he smiled back, cutting in on their dance. I stood on the side of the dance floor, watching the two couples dance. Charlie and Tanya smiling and whirling. Edward and Bella close together, dancing in circles. I was happy to see my family growing. My vision gave him away. "I'd love to, Jazz." Jasper and I whirled on the dance floor ourselves, with Carlisle and Esme, Carmen and Eliezer and Rosalie and Emmett. I was not worried about Irina and Kate, their time was coming, as all of ours did. The end. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel for more.